Hi, this is Fraser Hines here at Galaxy Fest here in Los Angeles, and you're listening to Traveling the Vortex.
We've joined the Doctor as he travels the Vortex and landed at episode number 115. And you know, the mark of a gentleman is that he knows how to Charleston, but doesn't. I'm Keith.
I'm Sean.
And I'm Glenn.
And none of us Charleston.
No, we've all got our zoot suits and
but
flapper,
I know how.
flapper
So
I don't know
gear
how.
on.
You don't know how to Charleston?
Seriously?
I'd show you, but that would mean I'm not a gentleman.
I'm not. Here, I'll show you.
I saw the video. I mean,
quick, somebody post this.
Oh, yeah.
That's the Charleston. That's all it really is. And then
kind
you
of
gotta
a
go
lame-
down and do the knee knock.
Oh.
That's what she's talking about on the knee knock. You know.
Then why was he having so much trouble doing it?
He didn't say he had trouble. He just didn't want to.
No. You're talking about.
Oh, the other guy.
The guy she's teaching, the
Can't remember his
Charleston.
name.
Because the dun, 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 that Glenn was doing is way better Charleston music than what they had on Charleston.
Yeah, much better. Yeah.
I guess the rhythm
So
makes a
that's
difference.
the Charleston. So
How are
it
you
wasn't
guys?
a great Charleston, but it was. Anybody can do the Charleston.
Can you do that to bagpipes?
No one could do that to bagpipes.
Can bagpipes play the Charleston song?
No, that can't be done either. I'm sorry.
Let me go to the interweb and see what I can find out for you.
Off to the interwebs.
I don't know. That
Is the Wi-Fi at
Why am I
Batman's?
looking this up?
I don't know. Is the Batman at Wi-Fi's house
not
called
there
the
yet.
Bat Interweb?
So what'd you guys do this week?
Way to sidestep that one.
well,
I'll let you guys go. Well, let me go first.
You go first.
I didn't
You
do
go
anything. I really did nothing.
Woo, quick week.
We we cleaned the house. That's pretty much all we did all weekend. We just cleaned the house, played some Uno all weekend. Mason's totally loves Uno now. He'd been playing on the Xbox by himself and totally figured it out. Which it's not hard to do on the Xbox because it shows you which cards are available for you to play. But that's how he taught himself to play Uno.
that's impressive.
And
that
then
he taught
asked if we
himself.
could play Uno, and we said sure. And we sit down, of course, expecting to have to help him. And Holly's like, "Well, do you want me to be on your team?" No, I can do this. Sure enough, he can't read yet, but he knows R is reverse. He knows S is skip. He knows D is draw two. The draw 4 wild cards still throw him off a little bit, and we still had to help him. Don't get me wrong. He's getting ready to turn 5, so he's still pretty young. But boy, that kid was sharp as a whip as far as a 5-year-old
That's
goes.
fairly amazing.
Yeah. It was impressive. So we played a lot of Uno this week.
Did Holly sing the song?
Did she sing there's an Uno
What's
song?
Holly's Uno song? This is the
Holly
game that never
Oh,
ends. What's going on and on, my friends?
That's not
Yeah,
a song
we-
from Monopoly.
You don't remember that one?
Yes, because when Caitlin brought us Uno home from school because she had won it in a competition, Holly and I both looked at her and cringed because I don't think until that time we had played an Uno game because of the ongoing forever 5.5-hour Uno game that Sean and I was engaged in. Not just us, but oh my gosh.
It went for.
It was some friends of ours and our spouses, and 5.5 hours,
Yeah.
Sean. It was 5. I remember it distinctly. So
If this was the Sandlot, it would have been forever. That's how long this
It
game
did.
went on.
So we cringed.
And every
but-
time we would try and throw the game.
We did, yeah.
Glenn and I had subliminal. I'm going to just go ahead and what do you got? Blue. All right, I'm going to give you this so that you can go out. And man, all of a sudden it would. And
It's all in your seating.
I swear
more
I would
cards.
have all blue and all red, and by the time it came around to me and I hadn't played anything, it was all green and all yellow. I don't know how did that happen. This game does not want to finish.
and it didn't. We refused to give up.
We did refuse to give up. It was not. It was. There was no. Okay, we're done.
There was
That was
talk
pretty
about it.
kids. I think.
yeah, it was-
I think there was one of them around.
I think there might have been one, but yeah, there was talk about should we just quit? And everybody kind of looked at each other. No, surely it'll end in the next couple of rounds.
No, because when it comes to our group, there must be a winner.
Yeah, that's true.
There can be only one.
I'm pretty sure somebody stood on the table and shouted, "There can be only one."
Well, I'm sure after that game was over, somebody got the quickening. That game was epic. So yes, when Caitlin brought this has been a few years back, but when Caitlin brought the game home, Holly and I looked at each other like, oh my gosh, no. But since then we've played and everything's been okay. So
Psycho
apparently
music
we broke
playing in the background.
yes, we broke the Uno curse apparently.
It's like, Dad, can we play Uno? And it's like, he brought us the Forbidden Scrolls.
Wait, you didn't open that box, did you?
You've let a terrible evil into this house.
I have not played.
I'm sure we
Since,
hadn't until Caitlin brought it home.
Jessica asked once.
You
She was,
flat
and
out
I
said
was like,
no.
Can we play Skip? Oh, sure, I'll play Skip. Yeah, in a heartbeat, I'll play Skip.
Well, Holly and I looked
That
at
game
each other.
doesn't
Should we
last as long.
tempt fate? Because you don't want to be locked into a 5.5-hour game with well, she would have been 6 when she brought it home. 7, maybe 7 because it was a couple years ago. So you don't want to be locked into a 5.5-hour game with a 7-year-old.
It just.
Well, it's a little easier to throw a game with a 7-year-old
The
because
sad
she doesn't
thing
hold
is,
her cards very close to her.
I like Uno. I really enjoy playing Uno.
Never again.
Never again.
There's a Doctor Who Uno. We should get it and play it.
I own the Star Trek Uno. It's still sealed. You know why? Because the game would not end.
Anyway, so we played Uno all weekend and cleaned house and just really kind of enjoyed each other. Caitlin and I watched Boomtown tonight, so we got back onto another Doctor Who. Holly and I watched. There's a lot of Doctor Who this weekend because I actually finished Primeval this weekend. Watched King's Demons because I missed Friday Night Who, and Holly and I watched Wedding River Song. So she's done now with Series 6.
Oh,
so yeah. So we'll.
How
we'll
did that
start.
go? What did she think of that?
She actually liked it because I've talked about Holly not liking the whole disjointed river timeline and the Doctor and just this whole jumping around and not quite the old Doctor, the new Doctor type thing. It just in Matt Smith's era, and so she's never been really good with that. But she said, that was just a really enjoyable episode. She said it was a lot of fun, and it made sense. They wrapped it up very well. And she said, I didn't see the Tesla robot coming. She said, of course, we had such a gap. But I asked her, I said, did you think maybe it was going to be one of the gangers, so that he'd use the ganger again or go there? And she said, I didn't really even think of that either. She said, I just really hadn't considered how he was going to get out of this. And she said it was a real simple fix. And she said, but it's not a letdown because it was fixed. It was well done. So she was excited about it.
Dorium's head in a box.
Yeah. Friend of the show, Simon Fisher Becker.
Yes.
Did she like the question? Did she?
No,
Didn't phase her at all.
did
She didn't get the same chance as the rest of us did.
Well, and that was the other thing that I had to explain to her too. That not the question, but another thing that was fan wank was. When he makes the phone call to the nursing home where the brig has been. And so she says, who? And I was like, oh, yeah, because you would have never, with the exception of just a few name drops in the new series, you wouldn't really know who the brig was. And so I kind of had to explain
unless
to
you
her.
watched Sarah Jane Adventures.
Yeah, and I told her, I said, that's really kind of fan service. That was kind of a nod to Nicholas Courtney passing away. So... yeah, but she thought that was nice that they did that, but she was like, I don't know him from Adam, so.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, I'd hope she'd know him from Adam.
What'd you guys do this weekend? Because really, other than that, my weekend was pretty boring.
Sarah and I got new phones, and that was a huge hassle. I'm not going to go into the story.
You know how long they were at the AT&T store?
Do you have a new number?
As long
No.
as that
Okay,
Uno
just
game
Sarah.
went.
Just
Okay.
she was other new. Yeah. Oh, it felt like
Oh,
it.
is this the right number, Keith?
I don't know.
785. I'm not going to read it.
555-1212.
867-5309. Is that it?
That is it. Did you see that post on Facebook? I think it was Brenda who shared it.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
I liked that.
We both got Sony Xperias. She's in love with it. It's her first smartphone, so it's kind of a big step for
Is
her.
she in love with it? She kind of seemed uncertain Saturday.
Sometimes it's a
she's
little
in love with it.
overwhelming.
Yeah, and
first get
we came home and I set up a lot of stuff for her, so it's just a one touch and do it. That
So now she loves it.
Yeah, now she loves it.
That's important when you get over that hump of,
Oh, God.
just
How
you're
do I-
overwhelmed by, I have no idea what to do here.
Yeah.
And then when somebody can kind of walk you through it and say, okay, I've made it easier for you, that's kind of helpful.
I downloaded a app so she can surf for wallpapers and stuff. She's already customized her wallpaper without.
All right.
I got up and she's like, "Hey, look, I got my new wallpaper."
What is it?
It's a bunch of like stars and stuff.
Cool.
Yeah. It's a very Sarah wallpaper.
Knitted kittens.
Yeah.
I don't know if she looked for knitted stuff yet. We did download an app for her where she can take a picture of her project and upload it directly to Ravelry.
Very cool.
Yeah. It goes to the Ravelry website, but it makes it just all streamlined and easy. And then we went with Sean and Mel to see Oz the Great and Powerful as an early birthday present to Sean.
How was that?
Really good.
It was really good.
Is it really?
Yeah.
It's getting like a C+ on most of by most of the critics.
I think it depends on how well you know the original movie. And
Well, you should go into it not knowing the original movie, but realizing that there are homages to it.
there are more homages and setups than you would expect.
It's done very.
You have to set this. Okay, I'm sorry. You have to set the story.
Oh yeah, and that's what
because
it
it's an iconic story.
But
we're not setting up the story from the 1937 movie. We're setting up the story of the Wizard of Oz.
It could go either way.
No, you can't, because Disney their next set needs to be. It should be the Wizard of Oz, or it should be Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. Is what it should be.
The Wonderful Wizard of Oz,
or the Wonderful Wizard.
is what
I'm
the
fine
book
with
is called.
that too. Yeah.
There's enough time. It's not an immediate prequel. It's not set right before.
Oh sure,
the events of the movie.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't expect it to.
But
be.
if a sequel didn't come, you could see how the events of this film go into the original movie. It's kind of like a Rise of the Planet of the Apes type thing.
I like to pretend the original movie doesn't exist in the Disney world. I like the original movie, and it's its own thing. But I don't. Was this a musical?
No.
Then it doesn't work.
There was one musical.
There was
segment.
a short musical segment, which was a nice little
with
nod.
Munchkins.
Yeah,
This doesn't work. Then.
it has a better tone to the books than the original did.
That's what I've heard too. Which is funny because this is not a book. This is not a book.
No, it's not. But
it uses characters and establishes settings and setups and things from the books. And in fact, I understand they've actually borrowed a little bit from The Wicked, which is also its own,
I could see that
realm and world.
I could totally see that.
Yeah,
but
there were a few nods
nobody be confused that Oz the Great and Powerful is not based on any of the books. It's based on elements of the books.
The official credit was based on the works of Frank L. Baum.
Yeah, there you go.
It's very much done in the way of. This is the weird thing. I was hyped. I was really hyped to go see it, but I was also very, very apprehensive because, this is the marketing team and the producers behind Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah,
and
they
I really didn't
that.
like Alice in Wonderland.
They got to quit doing that.
And
although
so,
there are a lot of people did like it.
Well, it made a boatload of money. But so it started, and there are a couple of visual, when they get to Oz and you see the hills that kind of look very Tim Burton-esque, and it's kind of like, oh, we're doing that.
Luckily, that stuff is fairly minimal.
There's also a little bit of the plot thread that kind of sort of it borrows elements from it, because there's this prophecy of the wizard who will fall from the sky and save us from the blah blah blah, and it's kind of like, I'm getting an Alice in Wonderland vibe here. That's it. That's the only part of it that's there.
Good.
The rest of it,
I liked Alice in Wonderland, but
I just
as its own film, it was fine.
How about they give me the actual sequel?
Jabberwocky.
Yes, give me the actual sequel. Give me a proper Alice in Wonderland and give me an Alice Through the Looking Glass. That's what I want. Don't combine. Stop combining the two.
Yeah, agreed.
Keep waiting.
Yeah, it's never going to happen. And the 2 Tarzan movies that are coming, going to be very big disappointments. I can tell you now, after reading the book, they're going to suck.
Well, the Lone Ranger is going to be horrible too.
Oh yeah, well that
was another preview.
That's Johnny Depp. I expect it to suck.
There were 8 billion previews.
You don't like any of the Pirates movies?
They're okay. The first one was all right. And
you didn't like Edward Scissorhands?
Okay, there's a point.
Why you got to poke the bear?
There's a point in Johnny Depp's career where he kind of just jumps off the diving board.
And where's that?
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Okay. So Finding Neverland was before that.
Yes, and I like Finding Neverland.
And
Chocolat
from Hell.
Chocolat
from Hell.
Unfortunately, also was The Ninth Gate.
I see. I've never seen The Ninth Gate. I should see.
Most horrific movie I've ever seen.
Really? Okay, maybe I shouldn't see it.
Don't. It will just infuriate you.
Edward Scissorhands.
Sweeney Todd?
That's like the one exception to the Tim Burton
Corpse Bride.
Didn't like it.
Didn't like it.
I'll say I liked Corpse Bride. I mean, it's pseudo Johnny Depp, but
give me. I liked the
Dark
other
Shadows.
Never saw it. Not going to.
I'm not going to see that either.
I have to admit, there's a part of me that still wants to see
If it gets added to Netflix, I'll watch it. That's the only way I'd watch it.
I wouldn't pay for
if it
it.
ends up on Netflix.
And I'm not going to go out of my way to go to the library to get this movie.
It's the scene where he stabs the television. Come out, tiny songstress. That line had me laughing. I'd be curious to watch the film just on the basis of that. Quite honestly.
So, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
That's before.
That was before.
That's acceptable.
That was before.
Yeah. That's before he kind of goes off the deep end and does The Tourist. I never saw. I heard was horrible.
A Tourist. I forgot about that one.
That was Angelina Jolie and him.
Yeah.
All 4 Pirates movies.
I liked the first one.
What was the one that he?
The second one was okay. The third was kind of. I never watched the fourth. It was after Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I was like, I wash my hands of you. I'm not going to invest myself in any more of your stuff.
In fairness,
most of that's Burton's influence.
Yeah, I mean,
sorry, is that what you were going to say?
No, well, just the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory kind of.
I had such high hopes for that movie too. I think that's the problem.
Really?
Charlie and Chocolate Factory.
Yes.
I did too,
because the script phenomenal, closer to the book.
Yeah,
which is what was needed.
That's always been my thing. Is I love Charlie and the Chocolate Factory as a book. I liked Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory as a movie, but I've always felt that they deviated from the feel and the darkness and the
darkness is still there,
effort, but in a different way.
It's subversive.
It translates differently, though. Yeah, and so I thought, okay, they're doing a new because I mean, Roald Dahl's family was like, no,
that's how you say his name?
Roald, how do you say it?
Roald
Dahl. Roald Dahl. His family was so after they didn't like the movie. They didn't like the Gene Wilder movie. They were like, no, it's not what Dad would have wanted. So they distanced themselves from Hollywood for so long, and people have been trying to option the rights to do it again. And finally, when Burton came back and said, "Listen, this is how I want to do it, and I want to stick close to the book," I thought the same thing when the script when the script hit the internet. I saw it. I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is very much." I mean, and the whole thing went out there, but pieces of it was out there.
Said, "We approve of
and they
this."
said, "Absolutely, here you go." So I thought, okay, this is what we're going to get. And where the movie falls down is Johnny Depp's portrayal.
Absolutely.
That's the only bad part about the movie. The rest of it is great. The rest of it is the spirit of the book. But Johnny Depp is not Willy Wonka.
Yeah.
He's a pedophile.
Well, I was against it just because I am a fan of the Gene Wilder, and I haven't read the book, so maybe that would color my perceptions. But
that's where the line is drawn for these this type of thing.
It's a pinnacle movie for me. Is Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory? And so when I heard they were remaking it, I instantly got my hackles up because it was like, you can't touch this. This is one of those classic films that you just shouldn't do. Until I thought to myself, honestly. The only person that I would trust with directing this remake is Tim Burton. Oh. He's the only one with a mind that could do it.
See, that's what I thought too. And
then I thought
Tim Burton's going to bring that darkness.
But then he's going to get Johnny Depp to play Wonka. And then they announced it. Tim Burton's coming out to direct, and Johnny Depp's going to be Wonka. I was like, damn it.
And I was okay with it until I saw footage of Johnny Depp as Wonka. And then I was like, no.
I would like to apologize to the listeners now for getting us down the Johnny Depp road.
Yeah, this is all your fault. We were talking about Oz the Great and Powerful, which
fortunately
which
was James Franco. And how did he do?
He plays Swarmy really well.
He's a con man.
He's not a likable character in the movie for most of it. Which is how it should be.
Yes, but unlike so many of these films that have come out recently where they kind of give us the anti-hero and they wind up staying the anti-hero through the whole movie and being unlikable, you do get that moment of clarity for him and the redeeming qualities start to come out. So you get this,
you get the Hollywood story.
It pays a lot of respect to the original. Tonal too.
It also...
the original. You keep talking about
the original. Well, the original.
You really can.
The original story and movie.
You really can't. No, you really can't.
It's a great melding.
I go even one step further, is that I very much look at it that you could sit down and watch Oz Great and Powerful, The Wizard of Oz, and Return to Oz.
Oh, no.
I really honestly believe that they made those threads
No. That's sacrilege, because you can't sit down and watch Wizard of Oz and Return to Oz together. You can't do that. That's sacrilege. Now, I will add the caveat that I do love Return to Oz. I love that movie. Not a lot of people do. I love that film. But it is not a sequel to The Wizard of Oz. The movie. You can't sit down and watch the 1937 Wizard of Oz movie by MGM and turn around and watch the Return of Oz by Disney. You can't do that. They are two totally different, separate films. Apples and oranges.
It's a lot darker.
Yeah, no, it's not just darker. It's not a musical. It's not the characters are completely different. The The portrayal of the characters are completely different. Dorothy's actually almost the right age in Return of Oz, where she's not in Wizard of Oz. Don't get me wrong. I am an absolutely huge fan of Wizard of Oz. I lived in liberal Kansas, where Dorothy's house was. I lived and breathed Wizard of Oz. You would think that Wizard of Oz was shoved down my throat so much I wouldn't want anything to do with it, but that's the exact opposite. I have a connection to it because of that. And I absolutely love Return to Oz. And I've read at least half a dozen of the Frank L. Baum books. So I've got a lot of expectations
I've only read
for
3 or 4
Oz
of
the
them.
Great and Powerful.
I think
I
think you'll like it. Now that I've said that, he'll hate it.
Yeah, he's going to be.
He's just going to automatically.
His expectations are too high, so he's going to be disappointed.
Here's where I'm split. You both like the movie. And Keith and I have a lot more similar taste in film than you and I have in
I'll
film.
give you that.
So I'm leaning towards the fact that, well, Keith liked it, maybe I'll like it.
It's not a bad B movie. And
you and I differ on B movies.
That's where we differ.
But on mainstream films,
it's definitely a mainstream.
It's definitely a Sam Raimi film. He's got a lot of the same camera work from Evil Dead and Army of Darkness and things of that nature going on in there.
Even Quick and the Dead. And
yeah, I mean, which
you see a lot of that in everything.
It looks like a Sam Raimi film, which kind of surprised me at first. I know there have been some complaints that I've read about the acting. That, they thought so-and-so was over the top, and they thought this person wasn't as good as they could have been. Here's the deal, though, is that when you have a character that his name's Oswald, right?
I believe so.
Oz, that he's actually named Oz. Franco's character, and when he's this magician with this carnival,
well, they call him Oz
for short, but his name's Oswald. But when you have this character that's
that's not his name in the book, so okay, go ahead.
When you have that character that's steeped in that,
that's why he's not going to like it.
That tradition, it's very vaudevillian. It's very stage presence,
absolutely,
and that's the way he plays
absolutely.
it. So even when he's off stage, that's how he is. Well, and then a lot of the characters kind of fall in with that. But in my mind, when you see the movie as a whole, it makes sense that that's the way they play it.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where the complaints are coming from, is that they kind of missed what the filmmakers were intending to do with it. I think people just weren't getting it. I can see this being a film that you will like, people of our age will like, and the kids would really like, because it's PG. There wasn't a lot of scary stuff.
There was quite a bit of kids in the audience
and a lot
when
of
we
kids
saw
in the
it.
Audience. But I think those
teens
tweens,
and young adults,
the teens,
they're
going to hate it. They're not going to get into it at all.
They're not going to understand it.
Just missed the mark. The other thing I will say is that Zach Braff is really, really good.
See, he is awesome. Of all the reviews
it.
I've seen, he's the only one that everybody's complaining about.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought
he's very over the top.
He was one of the best parts of the movie. I think Mila Kunis was more over the top than Zach Braff.
Well, that's just it. I think it's funny that they keep saying, "Well, Zach Braff was over the top."
He's an
animated character. You have to be over the top.
He is a flying monkey.
You have to be over the top in order to convey that energy.
And there's a lot of great stuff in the beginning of the film before they even get to Oz that I really appreciated. Just watching it.
The structure of the film is set very much like the original too, which is great. And then the little girl, she's 13, but she plays the China doll, which the China doll is probably the most precious, amazing animated character creation.
Oh, is that right?
Ever.
Oh,
she steals every scene she's in just by being cute. And I was worried about that too.
That's neat.
And she feels like she comes from the books.
Yeah.
Well, she's an integral character in some of them. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Apparently, I need to go back and read some of these because I don't remember that much.
So, review forthcoming, but on this end, we 2 thumbs up. We liked it.
All right.
Did you catch the reference in the very beginning? It's just
the name drop.
Yeah.
I leaned over to Mel. I was like, "Did you get that?" She's like, "Leave me alone. I'm watching." So
I made a noise, and Sarah was like, "What?" I'm like, "Never mind." She's like, "What?" And so I explained to her.
You'll cue in
what I think it is.
There's a great. Oh, it's so cool. But it's right at the beginning in the yeah.
What else did you do? You guys went out to eat?
Went out to eat.
Where'd you guys eat?
Red Robin.
Red Robin.
Ooh, yummy.
We were going to go to the 4:00 showing, but AT&T took too long.
Oh.
So we had to pump it back, and so we went to eat beforehand and did all that.
So anything else exciting this weekend?
No, we originally we were going to go to Omaha for William Catt.
I forgot about that. That was this weekend.
That was this weekend. William Catt, who played the greatest American hero, apparently has a comic book out called Sparks, and he was going to be signing graphic novels up at Krypton Comics in Omaha. And Mel and I kind of planned that we were going to go up there on Saturday.
It's a graphic novel that
It's a graphic novel that he's done. I mean, it's a graphic novel because there was an ongoing comic.
Gotcha. Okay, I gotcha.
But we didn't wind up going. So
no Greatest American Hero.
No Greatest American Hero autograph on the wall. I was a little bummed.
Do you have the DVDs?
Mel does.
Would you have taken the DVD?
Probably not.
Just got the picture instead.
Yeah, I'm just not a big fan of having people sign DVD sets. It's just a little because the DVD's going to go on the shelf, which means the autograph is out of sight. So it's kind of that's me. I don't know.
I'm kind of that way too. I want it on the wall.
I had to take my Beastmaster to Gen Con, and when it got that signed, and then I had to buy a second copy of Beastmaster so I could take the DVD slip out and put it on the wall. So.
All right. Shall we move on to news?
Yeah, let's move on to news.
I'm not going to do the
This Muppet News Flash brought to you by Gatorade.
Hi-ho, Kermit the Frog here. No? All right.
You just did it for me.
Our first bit of news.
First bit of news. Getting out of work.
First bit. Well, you do that. You did the Muppet News Flash, but the did was always the Sesame Street News Flash. With Kermit would come out as the roving reporter.
It's not a Muppet.
Yeah,
well, it is a Muppet, but it's not
he's
a Muppet.
But then there was the Muppet announcer, where you just hear the
which is the type like the Walter Cronkite.
Exactly. Yeah. So you were kind of melding the two. That's why I did I jumped in and did the Man on the Street. So. That's what I always imagine when I hear the All right, anyway. Our first bit of news, the BBC actually showed us what the Ice Warrior design would look like. And
for the new series.
Yes, for the new series. For the episode...
For the upcoming episode.
Cold War.
Yes.
Right?
The Cold War.
Starring David Warner.
Who's David Warner? I keep seeing that
What
name.
do you mean, who's David
Warner?
Warner?
Who's David Warner?
Who is David
Don't
Warner?
end about him. I got this.
I'm going to pull up a picture so we can see him.
Tron.
Right. Okay, I knew we had talked about it. That's right. I got you.
Okay.
No, I knew we had talked about it.
And a number of
earlier
other
in the week,
things.
I'd seen this, and I was like, David Warner. Now, I know that name. Where did I? And I didn't know about it.
He's played the Doctor in The Big Finish Unbound.
Gotcha.
He was the manservant Lovejoy in Titanic.
Yeah, I got him now. I couldn't remember who David Warner was.
He's just
That's one of those names that it's so generic. David Warner, and just two generic names that I just don't always put it.
Sean,
with
if you're listening for Galley next year, David Warner.
Well, you run a whole gamut of.
What do I have him sign?
You'd run a whole gamut of pop culture there that you could draw from. So,
I mean, he played Jack the Ripper.
You better not limit the registration then, because then so many people would want to come out to see this person. That the registration would be the limiting it would prohibit you.
Because he was in 5 and 6.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And Next Gen. He's played a Klingon and a human and a Cardassian.
Yeah. Wait, I remember him in 5. What was he in 6?
He was Chancellor Gorkon.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I love David Warner.
Ha.
What
would you have him sign?
I don't know.
He would spend all his money just on David Warner.
I quite honestly could. I could come back from Galley with nothing but David Warner autographs.
I've got 8 autographs from David Warner.
I'd be like, I don't care. I'd just get out of line and get back in.
You know what you do? You go make...
It's worth the line.
No. You just go and you make one poster.
Of all...
just like Stark from Tron and... whatever his name was in Star Trek 5, and just
Talbot.
Yeah, just run a whole gamut of the most iconic figures he played, and just do that. The little you know what I'm talking about, the little triangular frame with the little space between them, and just it's like an homage to all his most famous characters, and then just have him sign that one. That would be awesome. That's what I'm doing.
And actually, he's already been...
wait, we haven't even... we don't even have it yet. And I've already decided I'm going to have him sign it.
He's already been in Who Wants? Dreamland.
Yeah, that's true. He was a voice
he's
actor
already
Dreamland.
a possible guest.
He was in Dreamland?
He was a voice guest in Dreamland.
I didn't realize that either.
Aslock.
I'm sure we talked
Lord
about
Aslock.
Lord
We did.
Aslock.
And you didn't remember who he was then either.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, guys. I'm just not that enamored.
Because the last time we talked about David Warner, we said he should play a Draconian. That's how he should come back in the new series, because that's the perfect role for him. My guess is he's in the Ice Warrior episode. He's probably an Ice Warrior. I don't care.
I don't think he is going to be.
You don't think so?
No, he's probably going to be the submarine commander.
Yeah, that's who I think.
But anyway,
If
so
it's
the
a British
Ice Warriors, I don't know about you guys. I have been, you guys know me. I don't know if we've talked about this on the show, but between the four of us, how many people are here? But between the three of us, we've kind of
Is
been,
that you, Casper?
I've been saying, I love the idea. Well, first of all, I've been saying the Ice Warriors are coming back for a long
You've been
time.
all over that one.
However,
Ice Warriors.
I have been a little leery about bringing the Ice Warriors back because if you don't design them quite right, I just don't think they're going to be that acceptable. So then when I saw this, and it's very, very true to the original design, my first thought was, uh-oh. But my second thought, when I started looking at it and realizing that they went with the whole armor idea, that's just an
I really
armor.
hope they make reference that it's armor.
I think they will. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't. I do like that they don't have the crab claws. Like
that is a nice improvement.
That's a nice improvement from them. And
it's going to make the Lego Man so much harder to design now.
And how the mouth.
They'll still have crab claws.
There's a clear definition that we're actually seeing the species around the mouth area. I love that, and I'm glad they're not furry. Because the old Ice Warrior,
that is a great improvement.
Had like the
just tufts of hair sticking out from the armor.
Yeah, you know how Dad's hair always stuffed out of the top of his shirt. Well, yours probably does that too, but no, it doesn't. Wow, interestingly enough, as hairy as you are. But some people they've got that tuft of hair that like just sticks out over the top of the shirt. That's what the Ice Warriors.
I shaved today.
Oh, is that right?
No, I agree. That was the thing that always bothered me about the Ice Warriors because when they first lumbered into the that great black and white image, and wow, these guys lumber. There was a precedent set with lumbering.
There's a good reason this is going to be set on a submarine. They don't have to lumber very far.
Very fast. And we'll get you at the other end of the ship. Don't worry, we'll catch up. But when we've joked before about lumbering monsters on Doctor Who, the Ice Warriors for me are the ones that kind of set the precedent. This is where all lumbering came from.
Moffat said the same thing.
That's
one of the reasons why he didn't want to bring them back.
Yeah, is that he always thought that they were a bit rubbish as far as trying to bring them back from the standpoint that you could just run away from them. But he said that Gatiss came up with a really cool idea anyway. Yeah, which that's the funny thing is when I see Moffat go. Man, we're in trouble because he thought of something really cool. But I love the fact that it looks still very much like because that's the thing is we've seen the Ice Lord in his Mars Attacks cape and funny helmet, but we still I don't think we've really seen an Ice Warrior.
No.
I mean, we really don't know what these things look like, so it's just the armor presence.
Yes, right.
But the fact that the armor looks like the old school armor while being totally, this is an upgrade. Yeah,
right.
I'm so pleased with it. And Knit Briggs is doing the voice, so that's
that'll be very cool.
I'm kind of on the fence about it. I kind of wish they could have updated it a little bit more, but I like the reverence to the original, but I still wish so. Until I see them in action, I'm going to have to really withhold judgment.
You know what I'd like to see come back?
Look at the difference between the Silurians from then and now. They did miraculous things with the design of the Silurians. They couldn't do that with the Ice Warriors?
I don't think you needed to.
Well,
because we haven't seen one. So it's just...
that's why I'm waiting.
Well, but I see where you're coming from with the Silurians. We knew what the Silurian design was going to look like, or what it had looked like in the classic series, and then when they came back, it was remarkably different, but still stayed semi-true and almost made it more of a acceptable update,
and
so that was the same. That's why
thing.
I went into thinking, oh gosh, I hope to the Ice Warriors right, because they have to resemble Ice Warriors, but they have to be a well enough updated design that your average viewer nowadays will buy it.
Yeah.
And when I saw this, my first inclination was, oh, wow, we went with more of the really classic look. But the more I kept looking at it, I thought, I like that. It's great. I love it. So.
You know what I'd like to see come back completely redesigned? Quarks. Let's design them so they don't suck.
They never suck to
and
begin
then
with.
Keith will have something to complain about.
The Dominators,
they changed the design too much.
The Dominators is what sucked. The Quarks were awesome.
The Quarks sucked.
No, the Quarks were awesome.
The Quarks were awesome. The Dominators sucked.
Quarks were awesome.
Yeah. All right, I want to see you guys put some cardboard boxes on
Have
your
you seen
heads
the updates they've done for those
cosplay as Quarks.
Actually, they were 2 or 3 years ago. The Quarks won the
were there Quarks at Galley?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
I think it was a year before you went.
It was before I went. Before my time.
All right, so the new design, and we're not going to put it on the website. If you want to go if you want to see it, go seek it out and look at it, because that's
You
one
just
of
go
those
New Ice
things.
Warriors,
Yeah,
it'll pop up
exactly.
for you.
Because
Or
I
even
was
just Ice
real
Warriors.
hesitant to even tweet about it the other day when it came out, because I don't want to spoil it for anybody if they don't want to see what it looks like.
Like that one guy in the crowd.
All right. So anyway, the next bit of news.
Puffin Books announced the next book in their 50th anniversary range, The Spear of Destiny by Marcus Sedgwick.
Yeah, and it
And
sounds
it
like
features Joe.
Yep, Third Doctor and Joe tracking down the magical spear of Odin. Ooh. So that'll be exciting. I don't know that I can say much more about it other than I'm excited, and I haven't read the first two yet. I have them. I've bought them, but I haven't. You guys are waiting for you guys are waiting for the anthologies, so
Yes.
you guys won't purchase them until they're all put together in one collection, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And I don't know who Marcus Sedgwick is. So.
Yeah, I don't recognize any of the stuff that he's done. But this is promising. He's quoted as saying, "To me, John Pertwee is a quintessential Doctor, both a hero of both thought and action." So it sounds like they're finding people who have great respect for the Doctors that they're writing for.
He's a young adult fiction author. He's won the Bradford Bowes Award.
Ooh, the Edgar Allan Poe Award twice.
Yeah.
Did you see the brief synopsis here? The Third Doctor and Joe are trying to track down the magical spear of Odin when they find themselves caught up in a vicious battle between Viking tribes.
Ooh, nice.
I'm in favor of that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we're excited about the Spear of Destiny. New book. That's 3 now. So we've got...
Oh, don't search for that title. You're not going to grab it.
No, I was trying to figure out how many we had to go. 11 minus 3.
9.
9.
8.
8. Darn.
Why is the guy
That's
at the
why
table,
we're writers. That's why we don't do math.
Why is the guy at the table who's
Although we
the
have to
least
time shows, you think we can do
mathematically
math
inclined
better.
correcting you guys on 11 minus 3?
Next
do
bit of
simple math.
news that came out this week was 10th Planet news. Sean, you want to talk a little bit about that?
BBC has released a clip of the animation from 10th Planet, which Keith broke while we were down at Galley. The story that was coming out.
I did not break the 10th Planet animation.
You broke it to us. Oh, you broke it. You totally dropped it on the floor and broke it in tiny little
It's
pieces.
not my fault.
And we were kind of, I don't know, taken aback by this one, just from the standpoint that the piece that they showed is the existing piece of footage from the episode that we've already seen. And I don't know, why would you animate something that you do have in the archive? That seems strange to me.
I thought the same thing. I was a little upset because I've seen the footage that was rescued because it still existed with Blue Peter of the regeneration from 1 to 2, and I thought, you know what, I understand the idea of animating in the entire last episode, but I still think you could have come back to
regular animation for that.
No, regular film.
regular
For
animation.
that, so that we can actually see that icon. Now, I'm sure they'll include it on the DVD as well, but Keith actually has a little more information on this as to why they did it.
Radio Free Scaro, I can't remember. I blanked on his name. One of the main guys at Radio Free Scaro moderated a panel with the DVD guys.
Steven Spansky.
Steven, yes. Steven moderated one of the DVD panels with the guys from To Entertain, and
That must have been happening while we were on another panel.
they specifically focused on upcoming releases, and I'm still listening to it. I'm not done with it yet. But they were talking about 10th Planet, and they directly asked him, "Are you animating the regeneration?" Because apparently there's also other bits that survived from the episode, and so they're reconstructing those bits also in animation. And the reason they're doing that is they don't want they want to keep people in the animation. Once you enter the animation, you accept that for the episode and you go on, and it would be too jarring to cut to live action after in the same episode without going to credits.
I don't know, because I understand. Okay, I understand that theory. I understand the rationale behind that.
And the stuff that exists, they are animating exactly.
Exactly.
They're drawing over it.
I've watched the clip that we've seen that they've released, and it really is shot for shot, scene for scene, everything. I think the problem that I have with that is it's what exists. Now, yes, there are other pieces that they have picked up as well, but what exists of the transformation is all of maybe a minute and a half, 2 minutes
If that,
of video. So Yes, while I understand the rationale of it being too jarring, pulling
It's
them out of
still
the
gonna be on the
animation,
disc.
I think it. Yeah, well, I'm sure it will. But I think that it would be fine to cut to that. And actually, I'd like to be able to have the option to watch it with the live action at the end, or
Maybe
not
they would include that option.
Like a branching version.
Yeah,
I don't know,
I can understand the reasoning.
I can see where they're coming from with that. And I think a lot of it would honestly depend on the type of animation. If Reign of Terror flipped back and forth between live action and...
Well, this is the same animation company.
That style of animation with the really Yoda face.
Yeah, this is the same company, and this will be the same style of animation.
It doesn't look the same to me.
There's not a lot of good close. Well,
yeah, maybe that's it.
and
Maybe
they also talked about the Reign of Terror animation and the things they learned from it, and a lot of the quick cuts they learned not to that just doesn't work.
Thankfully,
so it's really
my biggest complaint about.
It's
the
a really
animation of Reign of
interesting
Terror.
panel. So I would highly recommend going to listen to
I'll
it.
take a listen.
I'm glad they recorded it because normally, like last year, I found interviews with people. I never found panels that were recorded.
Yeah.
So that is really cool.
With the exception of the podcaster panel, we knew you didn't listen to Chip's. Chip ran the.
I must have missed that.
Oh, the podcast. He was on it. Well, he was on it. He visited it. But
maybe I did listen to that one.
Yeah. Anyway.
I don't know. I don't see why you couldn't cut back over to it, especially if you animate it up to the scene where they're outside the TARDIS, and then when it flips to the inside the TARDIS bit starting, that could have been your dividing point.
Agreed.
Just if for no other reason than because this is such
iconic
piece of
Doctor Who. Absolutely.
I mean, this is it. This is the first.
Yep.
The first.
I think you risk pulling them out of the story briefly by flip-flopping to preserve that piece of history. I think you risk that. I think you make that risk. Speaking of Galley, since you were talking about that being a panel at Galley, speaking of Galley, Sean's got a little bit of information on Galley tickets.
Galley tickets went on sale Friday. For us, it was 2 p.m. Pacific Coast was noon. Did I have that right? Yeah. And immediately servers crashed. People went wild. Cats and dogs lived together. It was mass hysteria.
Chaos in the streets.
About 20 minutes.
Wasn't that a problem last time?
Yeah. They did apparently sell over 1,000 memberships. That number is confirmed, that they sold over 1,000 memberships within an hour of the membership opening. Now, as we've reported before, they have capped it at either 32 or 35. I don't remember the exact number.
I thought it was the same as this year.
It's the same as whatever this year's number was.
Wasn't it 35? Maybe that was 35.
I think it was 35.
One of the two numbers they've capped it at.
People kept saying 3,500 people.
Okay, so 3,500. I rounded. I didn't know. I was paying attention. And I keep seeing reports from people that are kind of indicating that there's only X number of hundreds left. Now, this is the interesting thing to me is that I'm sure those people are right. The way that they were selling at that clip, because I had to stop. We were in the middle of a video shoot for school, and I pulled myself aside and said, "I'll be back in 10 minutes, guys." And I was sat refresh, waiting to get in with Mel's credit card in hand, so that because she was like, "You will get Galley tickets on Friday." Okay, I was given the directive, and that stare. So I'm not doing that. So based on the trouble that I had getting through, because even once it came through, it was like, oh, you can't get in, oh, you can't get in, oh, you can't get in, and then finally it kicked over. So I have no doubt that they sold a bunch, but I'm seeing a lot of people saying that there's only about 600 memberships remaining. I don't know where that number's coming from. I do not have a number. I have a confirmed membership for next year for both Mel and myself, but I don't have a number on it, and normally they number those. So if people are seeing their numbers, maybe that's where this is coming from. That if you're, your membership number 2,000, well, there's 1,500 left based on that. But I don't know where these numbers are coming from. I will be surprised if they last the week. Very, very surprised, just based on that.
Even though last year they lasted all the way into... I mean,
they went 7 months last year.
Yeah, I didn't buy mine until the summer, I think it was, and I finally picked mine up.
Yeah, so they lasted all of 7 months last year. But
yeah, and it was later in the year that they even announced that it was going to be capped.
No, it was...
They didn't announce it when tickets went up.
They announced the day of.
They announced that fairly early. I think it was day of.
For last year's tickets?
Yeah, because he kept warning us that if we were going, we needed to get tickets. And I kind of just sat and watched the website until they finally said they were down to, I think we were down to about 165 tickets left when I finally decided, okay, I got to go ahead and do this.
So as of right now, we are, they've sold a bunch. I can't tell you for sure how many.
I'll tell you, I'll be the first to admit that if that's the case and they're going to sell that quickly, I'm there's a good chance that I'm probably not gonna make it because I've got some extenuating circumstances right now that are preventing me from buying galley tickets at this time. Now I'm looking at hopefully fixing that a couple weeks down the road, but if they go that quick, there's a good chance I'll miss getting tickets, and then maybe I'll be scrambling to find somebody that. Because I talked to at least 2 people at Galley last year that didn't get in on the tickets, and they found people online that something came up and they couldn't go.
Transfers,
right?
Yeah.
And they transferred their membership to them. So that'll be the next step, I suppose, if they.
Yeah, and they're still going to allow that, and you can certainly do that. So, I got to email them and tell them that our names are wrong on the badges, but oops. My autofill was still turned on, so I hit click and it chunked over to. So Mel's badge says Sean Collins, and my badge says Vortex Sean. It's like that's not right. So I guess at this point I have 2 Galley memberships. Mel's going to have to find her own way, but no, I can't do that. She paid for it. But so still dealing with the confirmed guests of Colin Baker.
Which I'm excited about.
Katie Manning.
I'm more excited about that.
And then both Benton and Yates. We got Levine and
that'll be
Franklin.
neat.
Oh, and Adam. Now they did comment that because of this year's maybe Arthur because of this year's rapidly changing schedule. I mean, I don't know how many people we reported on that we had to later backtrack and say so and so canceled.
Right. It happened a lot.
I mean, there was a lot going on. They did comment that they were not going to announce nearly as many guests specifically from new series early.
Yeah,
that it would
that's a
probably
good
not
idea.
be until
That's
January
a good
next
idea.
year that you started to hear some of those
I'm
names.
fine with that. I think that's a good idea.
Oh, yeah.
But there's that. So,
well, here's the thing: is because you don't have to. That sounds kind of crass because I don't have to do it because I already have a fixed number of people that are going to come. But they know they're going to sell those 3,500 people, so it's not like it has to be marketing. It's not like they have to say, "Hey, so and so's coming. Be sure to get your tickets,"
right?
Because they know they're going to get that 3,500
tickets.
people. So it actually makes sense to hold on to them. And the nice thing about that is, like, anybody could say, "Well, I'll hold on to that. I'm going to get my 3,500. It doesn't matter who I get." But these guys at this con genuinely are not like that. They are they want to make it an excellent con for everybody, despite the fact that they know they have a solid lock on 3,500 tickets. And that's what that impressed me the most about this convention and the people running Galley is that fact. So I think that we're in for some real treats this year. I mean, already having the 6th.
I think it's going to be bigger than
Joe
last year.
Is awesome.
Because it's the 25th year for the con, it's going to be bigger than their 50th celebrations.
Could be.
So we know that Chrissy got her ticket.
Brittany got hers.
Brittany got hers, yeah,
which I'm really
is great.
excited about. So
at the very least, there's that much representation from
now.
Vortex.
If Sean wins the lottery tomorrow, I'm buying you guys tickets.
You realize if something happens tomorrow and goes well for me, he and I won't be in the same position.
Yeah.
However, it's still in February.
I'm letting
So we wouldn't be able to take off anyway.
There's that.
Here's the deal. I'm letting you know now that if something happens where funds come my way, I'm buying you guys tickets. So then it's up to you to figure it out. I don't care. The tickets are there. It's up to you to figure out how to get there.
Just get there.
So
if things work out the way I'm hoping, I won't have to worry about sweeps.
Good. I don't care how you figure it out. Just figure it out.
Good.
All right.
I'm still kind of
winning the lottery tomorrow. We're so great.
Well, let's move on to feedback. So get those galley tickets if you're going.
Get your galley tickets. Okay, so initially I was just going to ask you guys, but I think I like the idea of everybody going nuts at the same time. So if you're listening to us at home, you have to help me out with the feedback song. Okay? So here's what the line is, time to read feedback. Okay?
All right.
So when I point, and you get home can't do this, but you'll figure out when this needs to happen.
Okay.
When I point at you, you're singing harmony. So it's time to read feedback. Okay? And you'll figure this out pretty quick.
I don't know this song.
Yes, you do.
What?
I have no idea what this is.
I guarantee you know this song. And even if you don't know this song, I'll point to you. So you're here in the room and
What
you're
am I
okay.
saying?
Time to read feedback. I woke up this morning and who wasn't on? I turned on a podcast to start my day. I lost myself in tangents unknown. I closed my eyes and I slipped away.
I still don't know this song.
You know this song. Watch the fingers, boys. It's time to read feedback.
It's time to read feedback.
We'll read your emails on the air.
Feedback.
We're traveling the vortex.
Time to read feedback.
The podcast without compare. We'll sit and read your emails on the air. I can't hit that note. You know that song.
Who's that by?
Boston.
I've never heard that song in my life.
Lynn's such a liar.
Wow.
Are you?
Boston?
Boston.
Boston.
More Than a Feeling. You have not heard Boston's
Look
More Than a
that
Feeling.
up. I've never heard Boston's More Than a Feeling. Is that what it's called? More Than a Feeling?
More Than a Feeling.
More than a feeling.
I thought it was time to read feedback.
Now it is.
All right, I'm just kidding you. I have heard that song. It's an awesome song, and Boston is one of the greatest
Better
bands
be.
ever.
You literally
I don't know if I go that far.
Boston's pretty awesome. I like Boston.
I almost wanted to go ahead and play the guitar solo. you know how well, it's just that's one of those. That's my every time we play Rock Band, I got to end on that one because I stand up on my couch and just.
That's how you knew I knew it because we have played it before on Rock Band.
I didn't know if you played it with me though.
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
Keith had. I didn't know if you
No,
had.
that was the one your big finale.
Yeah, it's my big finale on Rock Band. You knew it was coming. It happened.
All right,
You really threw me. You're selling me with this whole. I don't know that one.
Keith, who's up first?
First up, not on your list, Scott.
Scott. Okay.
Wrote on our Facebook page. He said, "Hello, Kansas crew.
Hello, Scott.
I don't want to write too much. Just share with you the music of the noted Philadelphian jazz bagpipist, Rufus Harley. Look him up. I hope you enjoy. Scott from Philly." And he sent in a couple of links on our Facebook page,
All right.
which we'll include in our show notes.
We will do so.
It's pretty cool, actually. I listened to some of it. It was
I listened to it.
It was
a little
really
bit
neat.
as well.
I
'Cause do remember
haven't
seeing
watched
Lee.
him yet, but the idea of a bagpiper named Rufus, I'm
totally
totally down
makes
for
sense.
that.
Yeah.
He should be played by George Carlin.
Our next bit of feedback comes from Daryl. Daryl writes in comment question, "Hello, Vortexians. It's been a number of weeks since I last feedbacked, but I have been listening. This is Daryl from Guilford, Connecticut, after all. No,
Guilford Court.
Gallifrey Court, after all, in
Guilford.
Guilford.
Where did we get Guilford?
Guilford
Court.
in St. Louis, and I am annoyed."
We still don't know where you live, Daryl.
We know you live in St.
Could you
Louis.
send us a map? We're going to be one of those people. Americans can't find Daryl on the map. He's out there somewhere. I'm sorry. Why is he annoyed?
First off, I have been
I'd be annoyed if I didn't know where I live too.
I have been missing the Friday Night Who's, and as I have never figured out Twitter, I am left to listen to your weekly podcast, which, like I have said before, takes me a week to listen to, as I listen to it as I go to bed, and you always put me to sleep within 15 to 20 minutes. Still don't know if that's a compliment. I don't know if it's a good...
I haven't taken it as a compliment either time you said it, Daryl.
I don't know.
So wait. Let me get this straight. It takes him a week to listen to a podcast. That's because we run too long.
And we put him to sleep
And
in
we
15
put him to sleep within 15 minutes. I'm going to mark that down as total fail on our end.
Daryl, here. Let me help you out. Grab a nice warm cup of tea. No, nice warm milk. Some Ambien. And lullaby. And good night. It's time for you to dream about feedback. All right, go ahead.
I was totally going to jump in on that verse. And he changed the lyrics on me. I was like...
Thought we'd help him fall asleep this week. So
The last time you did that, you screamed bang really loud into the microphone. Frightened some poor kid into a heart attack.
well, because I was
Dr. Phil
waking.
drive off the road.
I think I was waking Mark up.
You were waking Mark
but I
up.
freaked Alex out in some market somewhere, I think, and he was diving behind produce or
Bang.
something. I don't remember what it was.
Poor Dr. Phil had to get a whole new car.
Anyway, bang! Poor Sarah's now awake.
I am. I'm also deaf in that ear now.
I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I always listen I was really
At least
annoyed.
he's still listening.
He's
I
still
guess
listening.
that's, He starts over where he left off every night, so.
I was really annoyed as today I woke up to Huey Lewis singing Feedback Time over and over again in my head. The music earworm has now infested my brain, and Sean is to blame. Even though it was clever, I cannot get that out of my head. Kind of Gangnam Style or Shebang. It'll never go away. So thanks.
What's Shebang?
That's
That one I really don't know.
That's that American Idol guy that failed. I can't remember the
I
guy's
thought it was
name.
Ricky Martin.
He's singing a Ricky Martin song. It's that
Oh,
real-
so it
Edward
is the
Hung
Ricky-
or whatever his
Yeah,
name is?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
It is
I have
the Ricky
seen
Martin
that.
song,
Yeah.
then,
It is
but
the
And
Ricky-
he's
it's-
performing it. That's
Yeah,
right.
okay, gotcha.
because it's really bad, and so
Okay.
that's why I'm assuming that's the version he has in his head.
Yes.
Okay, wait.
Because the
so-
other version wouldn't be as bad to have as this version.
So does
I don't
that,
know. It is Ricky Martin.
Does that mean I William hung Huey Lewis in the news? Is that what he's saying?
I think that is.
Oh,
Or he doesn't like Huey Lewis in the news, which
What
would
he's
be
saying
which
is-
would be a greater sin.
What he's saying is, don't go in front of the American Idol judges.
I had no intention of going
All
in front
right.
of that meat cattle processing plant.
At this point, it's so weak, watered down that
I don't want to hear this because that implies that you watched it once.
no, I run a show
I
on
watched
Fox.
it once. I watched one episode one time.
I have.
I had to find out what all the kids were talking about
just
these
once.
days.
just once.
Oh, that's all it took. I was like, whoa.
If there are any American Idol fans
Yeah,
out there listening,
here's the thing.
I'm sorry.
Here's the thing. I'm not a fan of reality TV. I don't like. I used to watch Survivor years ago. I don't like Survivor. Don't like those things. I especially don't like the ones that are like MTV or things like that, where we're following
The
people around on a daily
Kardashians
basis.
and
However, I
the
do
Wives
like
of
a
Wall
talent
Street.
show from time to time. I do like to go watch a talent show, and that's what American Idol is. Now, American
yeah.
Idol has gotten to the point where it's more of the follow people around and show the really crappy people to
the first half of the season.
just to make fun of them, and that's what I don't like about it. But it's a talent show, and I do like talent shows, and so that's why I decided to give it a chance. But then that Simon Cowell guy just completely turned me off on the show. So.
He's gone now, so
Yeah, I'm fine with talent shows. I
Too
think
late.
that to me, the Star Search has been going on for years and years and years. I mean, they had Star
That's-
Shirts all the way back
that's
to when I was in
essentially
high
what it
school.
is, yeah.
So it's the same thing. I don't have a problem with that
just had a
type
jerk
of reality
person
television.
telling people no.
I don't like reality television where we're trying to give people jobs, or we're putting people in a house and doing social
people
studies on what
celebrities
they
for
look,
nothing.
how they can live together,
that-
and then putting them in awkward positions so that we can laugh at them and feel better about our own lives.
That's just it.
That's
Quite
especially
ridiculous.
like King of the Nerds. Oh,
Quite honestly, the only, in my mind, true reality show was MTV's The Real World 10 years ago. Back
I
when,
didn't like
before
that
there was
either,
anything. I'm not
though.
saying I
don't
liked
think
it.
I don't think it was even reality then.
Well, but
It's-
that's
it's
as close
not.
as I
It's
think you're going to
virtually
get to.
reality.
In my mind,
Heightened
a reality
reality.
show is the news. Because if there's a cash prize at the end of the season, it's a game show.
a documentary is a reality show.
I took documentary class. I'll fill you in on that later.
Oh, okay, I guess not.
That's all scripted. Documentaries are scripted.
A documentary TV.
Scripted.
Well, it's scripted, but it's still reality. It's not fiction. It's not
It is.
fiction.
It is fiction.
Well,
it depends on the story
no.
you want
Well,
to
that's
tell.
true.
So-
Let's put this in perspective. It's 40% reality and 60% fiction. Is what it
Yeah.
is. What documentaries are. That's true.
It
I
depends on the
agree with
It
documentary.
depends on what it is.
Well,
Yeah.
some of them are forced reality. But
if you're recreating scenes, it's
well.
based
Like-
on
well,
the
like
script
the-
that you. I don't know.
The
There's a lot of that that
Nerdcore
doesn't make sense.
documentary I watched, they literally just followed them from venue to venue and literally documented it.
yeah, there's some documentaries.
So it wasn't
there are some
scripted.
documentaries out there that are unscripted, and there's a majority of them that there are.
Yeah.
If you're writing the
And then
documentary after you've shot everything, it's a true documentary. If you're writing
Well,
the
yeah.
documentary before you've shot it, then you're scripted it.
And if it's about ancient aliens, it does not belong on the History
But
Channel.
Daryl, his life is real. So
Daryl's life is real, and I'm very sorry that he has an earworm. I'm not sorry that it's Huey Lewis in the news singing Feedback Time.
Next week, I think you might need to do Shebang as feedback.
no, please
Pass.
go on.
Secondly, about the 50th.
I don't even know how I'd do that. Feedback. No, I'm not going to go there. That's all you get.
Everyone is back. All of this denial and sidestepping makes me think that everyone who has had some part in Doctor Who will be involved in some degree, whether it be a flashback, flash forward, or even a visit to the companions as they are currently, a la End of Time Part 2. There is no way the 50th will go by without some sort of acknowledgement of those who made the show what it is now. Keep tuned in.
Well, you're setting yourself up for a fall, Daryl.
Thank you, Daryl. I'll go to the whiteboard. Tally mark for Sean's side.
On that note, I grew up
I
with
never said they weren't going to do it. I'm just saying I'm not setting my expectations up so high that when it comes down...
I think it's been on microphone otherwise.
Well, I never said they weren't doing it. I never said that they wouldn't do it. I just said that it doesn't bear any sort of... There's no way that we can say... No.
He says we have no evidence of it thus far.
That's what it is. There's no evidence of it thus far. That's exactly what I've said.
No evidence of it thus far.
No evidence.
And you're right.
I'm not saying they won't.
Although they're going to start filming later this month, apparently.
But I also don't until the BBC
all those denials that everybody's giving us. So
that'll be
not
nice.
doing it.
But once the BBC officially puts it out there, then I'll get excited about it and set myself up high for it. But I'm not going to do it based on all this speculation and little nuggets that we're getting, and people are trying to read tea leaves where there are none. I mean, that's ridiculous.
He continues with, on that note, I grew up with the great Doctor Who reference / tribute books, such as Celebration, the handbooks, and the early years, The Key to Time, the 60s and 70s and 80s books by Steve Howe, Stammers, Walker. They were great. They had great photos, interviews, and behind the scenes of the show and its creation, as well as info on every episode. Now we have the 50th, so that there doesn't seem to be anything except books by fans delving into the reviews of the stories. We haven't had any official retrospective for quite some time. Can you imagine a coffee table hardback book covering all 50 years? That would be so cool. Episode guides, interviews, production notes, and so much more. Where is that book? Such a missed opportunity. I want it, and I'm a fan. But what about the new fans from 2000 onward? This would be an essential guide to all things Doctor Who. Maybe one is coming, but it probably would have been announced by now. Also, I like the BBC America retrospectives on shows, retrospective shows on each Doctor, and I hope that there might be a special focusing on the show as a whole and around every story, companion and Doctor, not just interviews, but a more full-on history and guide to the show. Anyways, excited about later this month and the Bells of St. John. By the way, what a crappy story title. Makes me want to yawn. Where's that gripping movie title, Moffat? Keep up the good work, guys. And Sean, if Huey is still singing in my head next week, I will drive to Kansas and force you to listen to It's Raining Men 1,000,000 times over. Daryl from St. Louis.
Daryl, I agree. I want to see all of that. I want to see every bit that you said. Unfortunately, I'm the glass half full kind of guy, and I just don't see them doing something like that.
I think the book would be awesome.
The book would be incredible.
It's a big
show
miss.
Going back and recapping everything would be awesome.
It would be incredible.
The thing is, we're going to get these
show.
Doctor Who revisiteds, and that's about all we're going to get. Because look at the BBC; they're not even doing this on the BBC. This is all for BBC America. All of this that's running so far has been BBC America. It's ridiculous.
There is a book, and believe it or not, I saw this today, right after I read Daryl's email, and I meant to flag it and didn't. But they've just announced that there is a book.
He needs an app on his phone, so every time he sees something, he
yeah,
can flag it.
I need to be able to do that.
That means he has to see it on his phone.
Keith, you already posted your...
No?
Oh, no, your favorite.
Here's the problem.
Your favorite is mine. Oh.
There it is. Whoology.
I saw that today
the
too.
Doctor Who Whoology hardback.
I didn't delve into it and read much on it, but
it just says this is all we've gotten. This is all we've gotten from it.
This is what we're getting.
That's what we're getting. Doctor Who Whoology, the official miscellany celebrating 50 years of Doctor Who. BBC Books released 2nd of May, 2013. It's got a picture of the TARDIS on the front. Other than that, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I cannot tell you how big the book is. I can't tell
you.
you. But I did find that. So, yes, it is something.
So it's something. And there's unofficial guides that you can find. It just would be nice to have an official guide.
It's by Cavan Scott and Mark Wright. So, how big of a deal is... I mean, because we've had reference books that have kind of come out of the Dalek Handbook and the 100 Scariest Monsters.
And there's a TARDIS handbook too.
Yeah, but again, they've all been
like that Dalek one that I have. Oh, I'd love to get that.
They've all been so New Who centered that I don't
keep
think
that in mind for a birthday gift for me.
Say it
all
again.
right, I'll remember that.
TARDIS Handbook, got it. Okay.
Dibs.
You're not even going to Rochambeau me for it. You're just going to call dibs.
Nope, I call dibs.
Anyway, so
okay.
Thanks for your email, Daryl.
Exciting. I'm looking forward to finding out what that's about.
I hope Huey comes to visit you in your city tonight.
I'm going to say that I bet he just doesn't like Huey.
Got to get back in town.
Our next bit of feedback is from Holly from Wisconsin.
Holly from Wisconsin writes, "Hey guys and gals of the Vortex. Loved the Back to the Future feedback song." I didn't
That
write
must have been why Keith put them in that order.
I didn't write it. It's black and white right here. Thank you, Holly. The bagpipe feedback song, not too bad, but sticking with classic rock or Mana works well. I don't mind bagpipe music at all. Plenty of it is used in the Highlander series and movies, but enough of that tangent. Ducks glares from fellow listeners for bringing it up again. As for the left elbow, not exactly sure what I did to it, but it turned out to be cellulitis brucitis. Look at me pronouncing the big words.
Hey.
Read that as very warm, red, swollen, and painful. 2 treatments of antibiotics, icing, wrapping, and keeping the elbow elevated, and I'm now on the mend. The cellulitis brucitis can be caused by any number of things. Repetitive motion, leaning or kneeling too hard on something. Anyways, the swelling is pretty much all gone, still keeping it wrapped to help with that. It was an interesting few weeks. This school year, I'm working between 2 schools. One of them happens to be an elementary school, so you can imagine all the questions of, what did you do to your elbow? Does it hurt? Can I touch it? So, cue me telling them, not sure how it happened, but it'd be caused by leaning on your elbows on your desk too hard. Yes, it hurts. No, you can't touch it. Now on to the Doctor Who stuff. The King's Demons. Pretty interesting setup. Loved it when the Dr. Tegan and Turlough exited the TARDIS and the King asks if Tegan was called Lilith. The scenes in the main hall and the reveal of the Master was good. The Doctor has some pretty good fencing moves. The scene where the Doctor has to decide if he was going to sacrifice the Master or Joffrey. Wow, talk about being put between a rock and a hard place. And then finding out the Iron Coffin was actually the Master's TARDIS was a very interesting twist. Did not see the fake King plotline at all until it was revealed. I was thinking more of a crazy twin brother, or that the Master went to an alternate reality and brought back the alternate world version of the King and decided to use him to do his plotting. The whole thing with Kamelion was interesting, but I still like K9. I can also see why Tegan was a little leery about having Kamelion stay on board the TARDIS and travel with them. Kind of having to say that I agree slightly. Just the way the Kamelion was talking to them, and I guess even the look of him, and then working with the Master to boot. Just doesn't make me want to trust him. Who knows if maybe that was even part of the Master's plan. I'll just leave you behind and you befriend them. Even though Kamelion does say that he can think for himself. Also the Doctor saying that he was going to take Tegan back home. And how fast Tegan backpedals and realizes how much she complains. She does love traveling with the Doctor. When we find that he was taking them to the Eye of Orion, well, you know things are for the most part smoothed over. I think it being a 2-parter was pretty good. The ending left me a little bit, that's it? That's all there is? And then looking and seeing the 5 Doctors as the next story kind of explains a few things. Time to wrap it up here. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts on this story. Holly from Wisconsin. And thank you, as always, Holly, for your letter.
Yep.
We will get into our review of the King's Demons and Kamelion. I'm sure you have some thoughts you'd like to share. I know you do. And I'm glad you're...
About Kamelion?
About Kamelion.
I hope your elbow continues to mend.
Yeah, your
yes.
now that I don't have it in front of me, I can't say it.
Bursitis?
Bursitis and...
Bursitis, not bursitis.
It's not bursitis?
Was it bursitis? Maybe it was bursitis.
What was the other word?
That's one I don't remember.
Bursitis. Cellulitis/bursitis.
Cellulitis plus bursitis. Yeah,
I hope that it continues to get better, and that you don't let the wretched little urchins at school touch it.
Don't let them poke it.
The wretched
Wretched little urchins.
Our next bit of feedback comes from Chrissy.
Oh, you're skipping Michelle.
I am skipping Michelle. Our next bit of feedback comes from Michelle. Michelle writes, her title line is, Oops! Hey guys, I was listening to Primeval, and I realized it contained an uncomfortable number of spoilers for the Keeper of Traken. Because of that, I can't talk about it nearly as much as I would like to, you and me both. I will say this. Oh my God, the Doctor was the first keeper of Traken. That provides an interesting, almost symmetry, considering who was the second to last keeper. Spoilers, Keith. On the topic of the keeper of Traken and spoilers, Sean, you should really put that in a schedule soon. If you put it in mid-April and continue with the New Beginnings box set, I would like to humbly request that we watch Castrovalva for my birthday, Friday, May 3rd. Just a suggestion. Hey, look, I said it. I said it, Sean. Castrovalva. Said it. Sorry. Just a suggestion.
I thought Castrovalva was the one you could say was
Legopolis is fine.
No, you're fine with Legopolis?
Castrovalva is the one.
You did say
I don't know why you had trouble with either one.
I think you're ready to advance in rank.
I think you're right. Just a suggestion. You don't have to do that if you've got something else planned. Okay, now that that's out of the way, I would like to talk about the King's Demons. From what I hear, people don't like this serial very much, but I remember enjoying it the first time I watched it, and also being surprised that Tegan didn't know that King John had signed the Magna Carta willingly, because I remembered learning that fact in history class that I took in high school. Also, Kamelion is a great character in concept. Things just didn't pan out behind the scenes. Michelle.
Agreed.
I guess
there were some uncomfortable spoilers for me when I listened to it, and I knew it was coming, and I didn't know that Primeval was set on Traken.
And I will take about
You shouldn't
40%.
No,
I will
shouldn't
take 40%
any.
of
That's
the
my
blame
fault.
because I
scheduled it
listened to this like 4 years ago.
Oh, you knew?
I did, but
That's all your fault.
But I didn't remember that this was the story. I knew that was those questions were
It's
answered.
kind of a generic title, really. For
Yeah,
what's
it really
happening.
is,
Yeah.
because it should be like the first keeper of Traken or something to that extent.
Primeval Traken.
Yeah,
I've been all right with
something.
that.
But it wasn't until I was literally only about 15 minutes into it, and I went, oh wait, this is that one. Oh no. And then I'm like 20 or 30 minutes and I'm like, no, it is. We can't do this. And so I went to work immediately and said, have you listened to this yet? Because I was going to say, Sean, take it off the schedule, post a thing on the website saying we're not doing that this week. And he goes, oh yeah, I just finished it. No. All right. Anyway. But we're going to talk about it a little bit later.
Yeah.
And we're going to try to traipse around some of the spoilers that would have made this discussion a lot more entertaining if we could have talked a little bit about it. But
Well, it just means it'll make the Keeper of Traken conversation more entertaining because we can bring in Primeval discussion then.
yep.
Yeah.
Next up is Chrissy.
You're going to go back and you're going to watch this episode.
Unfortunately, it isn't just Keeper of Traken. There's some Legopolis stuff.
Well, that's the problem.
Dropped as well,
That's
too.
really the problem is that because he asked me about this, and like I said, I didn't realize at the time that I scheduled because I hadn't heard this one, and I'm kind of trying to remain spoiler free. So I didn't realize when I scheduled this, it went hand in hand with that. And
You've seen Keeper, right?
I've seen Keeper,
okay.
yeah.
And you've seen Legopolis.
I've seen Legopolis,
okay.
yeah.
All right.
But that's the thing is, in my mind, it's a set. You pretty much
It
have
really
to
is
do
a
Keeper,
set.
Legopolis,
Oh,
and that.
absolutely.
But if really push came to shove, we could do Keeper as a standalone.
No.
And then do the other two as
I don't
companions.
think. I don't think so because to me, Keeper of Traken and Legopolis are a set, and Legopolis and Castrovalva are a set.
Yeah.
So there's no way to split that.
Well, I described it to Keith as kind of like
That's why they're boxed together.
in my mind, Keeper of Traken is kind of the utopia of the Sound of the Drums, Last of the Time Lords. It's kind of that it's all set up for the other two that really are two-part.
I would agree with that.
So,
yes, I would agree with that.
If you really had to, we could have split it up separately. But I was also waiting to do those until we got through E-Space. We hadn't put E-Space on there.
There's so much. The thing is, there's so much Nisa story between the first two,
Yeah.
and then there's
I know.
so much Fifth Doctor story between Doctor story between the next two.
I screwed up the scheduling on this one. I've apologized.
We have put some safeguards in place, I think, now that
Hopefully,
will
maybe.
hopefully prevent this in the future.
Glenn's going to fact check me.
Well, I'm certainly going to go read synopsises of ones that I know I've heard because there's still at least 5 that I've listened to that I can go back and read the summaries again so I can refresh my memory.
Yeah, had I well again, I got it's Fifth Doctor Nissa. It doesn't say set on Traken. If I had even read Traken, I'd have gone nope.
Yeah, it's third.
It's-
It's third in line here
Yeah.
of the stories we've been listening to for
Yeah,
for
just
those.
Yeah.
It was just, it happened to be the next, logical progression of that. So I was like, okay, yeah, we'll do that one next.
Anyway, we're going to talk a little bit more about it later, so let's move on.
Moving on.
Chrissy writes, bagpipes are cool and don't let anyone tell you differently. Woohoo! Dear Vortex Boys, I have a question. Is anyone else completely and totally frustrated by the lack of answers the BBC is willing to cough up regarding the 50th anniversary special?
No.
Specials? She has S in parentheses.
I'm frustrated with the people that are trying to glean stuff out of things that aren't there.
I have seen so many fan sites posting lists of what various peoples have been asked and their very evasive answers. All of which boils down to the fact that nobody really knows one gosh darn thing.
That's right.
If you've ever seen the movie Anastasia, there's a scene where Anya is trying to decide where to go, and she's so frustrated that she just yells out to the sky, "Send me a sign, a hint, anything." That's what I feel like fandom is doing when there is even the slightest mention of the 50th anniversary from someone who might possibly know something. So when John Barrowman gave out his little "I'm in talks with the BBC" tidbit, of course, Whovians are going to go crazy. So basically we go crazy because we finally have some semblance of a hint. Nobody's given us any real answers, and thus we're left to basically speculate and hang on to every little word coming from who might possibly, sort of, could maybe have something to say about the 50th. This week I came across an article talking about a similar situation regarding the new Star Wars movies, and how everyone doesn't know a darn thing, but that doesn't stop them from speculating about casting and so on. I'm going completely stir crazy in the process. Here's a link to the article, and one that I think would be worth a read for any Whovian who is kind of frustrated by all this non-news, and to remind us that Doctor Who isn't the only fandom with mysteries to solve. So it's a link about Star Wars, and I'm assuming, I haven't looked at the link, I'm assuming it's talking about Carrie Fisher.
Carrie Fisher's in Star Wars. Oh, wait, she was just kidding.
And then Lucas came back and said, no, all three of them are back.
He screwed up, too, and said, well, we'd already signed deals with Hamill, well, he says Mark, Harrison, and Carrie, and then he tried to backpedal in the same interview going, well, I don't know if I was supposed to say that. And then he says, but we were really kind of in just negotiations that were kind of open-ended, and I'm not going to tell you how those came out. I mean, that's what he says, and it's like, you already went too far. I mean, it's clear. Here's the thing.
He's a consultant on it.
He's
a creative consultant.
He is a creative consultant, but he's the one that's formulated the story.
Oh. Here's the deal,
they
though.
have the
realistically, all of that news was old news back because Mark Hamill tweeted that he was in talks with George and that they were discussing things before the Disney deal went down.
Yeah.
It's been all over the place. But once Disney and specifically Abrams got into the picture, now all of a sudden the cone of silence has gone up.
But here's the thing
and can't say anything about it.
I'm sorry that people are frustrated that the BBC hasn't tipped their hand 8 months out.
This is just like when we were in the wilderness months last year,
or that
and is Matt Smith going to leave?
Or that Disney hasn't tipped their hand 2 years out. People, this isn't the first group of... Chrissy said it. This isn't the first people that have done... Lost was like this when it was running. They weren't tipping their hand.
No,
they weren't giving information. Yeah. You had people on there that were deciphering stuff from the little nuggets they were getting. There are people that get off on that. They like that kind of thing. They like to play Sherlock Holmes sleuth. They like to play... Yeah, exactly. They like to play Sherlock Holmes sleuth and try to figure it out and put the pieces together before it comes out so they can go, aha, I was right. And 9 times out of 10, aha, you were wrong. And so I get so frustrated with people going, just give us a little something, give us a little nugget. The 50th anniversary show does not come out until November. Just be patient. We've got a show that's getting ready to return to the airwaves on March 30th. Let's focus on that. I'm totally excited by the fact that we're getting 7 weeks of Doctor Who starting in 3 weeks. Let's do that. Let's not worry about this 50th anniversary. Folks, it's in good hands. I don't know that we're going to get what everybody wants to get out of it. No, of course, nobody will get what they want to get out of it. No. But there's going to be something there, and let's let the BBC put it out in their time that they want to do it. And let's let it be a mystery for now and let's focus on other things, because I get real frustrated with I don't get frustrated with the people that are frustrated that they don't know anything. I get frustrated with the people that are trying to make big things out of little things and trying to say, this is what it's going to happen because so-and-so said this little tiny thing that I'm going to totally construe as
What, you mean
else.
like John Barrowman's going to be in the 50th?
No! John Barrowman didn't say he's in it. He says he's in talks.
I know.
I bet Stephen Moffat's kind of glad all this 50th anniversary kerfuffle's going on, because all these speculators are focusing on that, and then
it should detract from the new series.
There's so little leaks about this new series coming out.
That's just it.
You mean the series return?
Yeah, the series return. Yeah,
that's just it, though. This is the man who managed to orchestrate Clara in Asylum of the Daleks,
and nobody knew.
Nobody had any idea that was going to happen. And if he's able to pull that off, I'm totally...
And it was even pre-screened.
Yeah, and I'm totally willing to believe that he probably has all the surviving doctors lined up and signed, and that they're all feeding this BS. I'm sure, why not? I mean, at this point, we don't know. That's the
thing, we don't know.
That's the other thing that I don't want to do, is speculate that all the previous doctors are lined up and ready to go, because what happens when you find out that, no, it's only going to be 9, 10, and 11? Or what happens when you find out that, well, we're just going to have like little flashbacks of that? I mean, then you're let down. Don't set yourself up to be let down.
Here's the deal.
Just go into it going, hey, this can only get better from here.
Here's the deal. Quite honestly, I know everybody wants this because I want it. I'm a fan. If they did an 11 Doctor story, it would suck. Quite honest.
The plot alone.
I would agree.
Well, we talked about this when we reviewed the multi-Doctor stories. They're fun. They're amazing fun, and they're huge fan weight. But the bottom line is, it's too much ego. The Doctor has a huge ego as a character. And when you get 11 Doctors together in the same spot, you're not going to get anything done. You'd have to come up with an A to B plot that wouldn't involve anything with C, because you'd never get there. Right. It's just a matter of parading them in and showing them off and moving on. That's all you can really do with it. So, would I love to see it? Hell yes, I would love to see it. Are we going to get it? Probably not. No. Don't sweat the small stuff. Just enjoy what's coming up.
Exactly. That's my point.
You want to obsess about things? Like you said, we've got New Who coming on at the end of the month. We got a new Star Trek movie coming out in a couple of months. There's all kinds of things for sci-fi fans to be obsessing about. Doctor Who's 50th anniversary and Star Wars are not part of this.
We're obsessing about Hulk movies. We're obsessing about
so far down
Avengers
the line
2. We're obsessing about this stuff.
Avengers 2.
Let's start from square one like we did with the first set of films, and let's see what they do with Iron Man 3.
Yeah. Because, let's be honest, if Iron Man 3, the next Captain America, and the next Thor all flop, we're not going to get an Avengers 2.
No, we'll get an Avengers 2.
I doubt we won't get an I very seriously doubt that there won't be an Avengers 2.
Disney has sit back and already gone ka-ching on that crash register.
At the very least, we won't get the movies in between building that universe if they flop.
We won't get Avengers 3 if those films flop, but we're getting an Avengers 2.
And then we won't get any of Phase 3 if these other films flop.
Sure.
Yeah. So we need to focus on what's coming up that we can not tangent, but
you got to build
grasp within our reach.
Yeah.
We can't put the capstone on the pyramid until we build the bottom layer.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
We're on the second layer of the pyramid right now. Right. Lay off. It's okay. I agree with you, Christy. I'm frustrated too, but hang in there.
I don't expect them to say anything, really.
Speaking of Avengers,
we've gotten one trailer for the new season, and that was back at the Christmas special.
Yeah.
We haven't even seen a new trailer.
Hang in there, true believer. It'll happen.
She has another question. She says, who all from the Traveling the Vortex clan is going to Galley? No real reason for asking, just being nosy.
Just me, baby.
I think so far it's just Sean.
And Mel.
And Mel, yeah.
Who?
Mel.
No, just kidding.
You didn't hear that announcement? Mel, the actor's going to be at Galley?
All right.
Bonnie Langford's coming to Galley? Anybody want my membership?
Oh,
that's mean. I shouldn't have said that.
Chrissy continues. Reviews. The King's Demons. This is a story that I wish I had at least one more episode to give it some breathing room, because it is an enjoyable story. The Master's back to his old tricks, but at least this trick makes more sense than the one in Time Flight. Have you guys reviewed that one yet? I forget sometimes what Keith hasn't seen.
Yes,
we have, and you're correct. I love Kamelion. I also love Kamelion. He's one I wish had gotten more use in the stories. All in all, It's a fun little story and one that I wish had also been a little longer. What else am I going to say about the story that features the Fifth Doctor sword fighting?
I'm honestly a little surprised, Chrissy. I figured you'd say a lot more about a Fifth Doctor story with him sword fighting.
I think the rest of us can fill in the blanks.
Yeah.
Primeval. You know, the Doctor's companions from Earth often get to see Earth's history and future, but very rarely do we get a story about one of the Doctor's companions from another planet get to see their planet's history. That is one of the reasons I love this story so much. There is a great emotional connection with Nyssa getting to see Traken's past. Evidently, it's a past she's unfamiliar with, seeing as Trakenites don't study their own history, which is just weird. But who am I to argue with a civilization that's already been destroyed? And I think it makes the Doctor even more motivated to stop the threat to a place that's important to his friend. Nyssa also gets some great moments in this. Even though she's supposed to be sick, she gets to stop bad guys and show off her intelligence and really has some great opportunities to shine. I also love all the little nods to the television stories in this. Nyssa teaching Sabian the Charleston, the Doctor remembering he's lost the sonic screwdriver, and even a mention of Adric's death. And there's the idea that Quandar, however you spell the guy's name, has a grip on Nyssa's mind even before she started traveling with the Doctor. It makes that one instance where she was incapacitated during an entire story arc more important than just the production team wanting to write her out for a few episodes because there were too many companions in the TARDIS. I'm glad Big Finish has given Nyssa some more backstory because she is one of my favorites, and I always wish that she had more to do in her TV stories. Peace out, Chrissy. P.S. My grandmother completely doted on me when I was little and made it clear I was one of her favorite grandchildren. And I have no reserve in saying that she is still my favorite grandmother, even though she's been dead for over 10 years. This same grandmother was raised by her Scottish grandfather, who likewise doted on her when she was a small child. So it is with this mind, I warn you all, be careful what you say about bagpipes and Scottish culture within my hearing. Smiley face.
Translation. Glenn is going to get hit again.
She writes back in and says, one more question. With the new design of the Ice Warriors, I was thinking about other classic Who creatures the new series could update, and got me thinking, would the Murka's original charm be ruined in the new series? If the new series redid the Murka and actually did it well? I have no real thoughts on this other than it would be an interesting topic for you two to tackle after your obligatory discussion of rain gutters, of course. Chrissy, sent from my iPhone. Bye!
When we listened to Blood Tide,
that was them updating the Murka.
That was them updating the Murka. And
visually, I don't think you could update the Murka.
Well, it depends. I don't know if the BBC could do it.
No.
But if you did, for example, the scene in the one really cool scene in Alien Resurrection where they have to swim through the kitchen and the alien is chasing them, but it almost looks like it's meant to be an aquatic creature because it's moving so fluidly through water. If you gave us a visual of that with the Murka that didn't look like a big lumbering guy and it just kind of came at you as this gigantic sea creature, I think that would be really cool.
I can see that. I can totally see that's why the Murka was so bad. It's an aquatic creature.
Yeah,
I never put two and two together.
I don't think it was meant to go through corridors and stomp down foam rubber doors.
Glenn's just shaking his head.
I love the Murka.
I'd like to see it realized.
I would too. I don't know, anything else that you think of that could be redesigned? I mean, obviously everything could be redesigned. They could go back and do Sea Devils or Quarks. Zygons.
Yeah.
Axons. Just about anything. I don't have... I've never had a problem with them bringing back the classic monsters as long as they still somewhat resemble the classic monsters that we know. I mean, the Daleks are almost spitting image. I mean, you can't change the Daleks much.
There's not much you can do there.
The redesign of the Cybermen sort of bothered me at first, with the exception of the fact that you still have the same core value of the Spider-Man, or the Cyberman, you still have the same. The face design, I think, is what does it for me.
More than anything, it's a story.
It still
if the
looks
story
like
makes sense for it to be updated.
The Macra, we see very little of them, but that's well done. Autons, I mean, they didn't change. They're pretty much
they just updated the technology. I mean, it's what they are now, as opposed to what mannequins look like then.
The Silurians, I think, were the biggest departure from the original, but
they're also the coolest looking. Though.
They are,
because the Sontarans look exactly the same.
They really kind of did a service to the Sontarans by making
they look better.
They have that mask that kind of gives them the bug eye look that kind of resembled the original idea or design of the Silurians. So that works. And then the Sontarans, I think that they stuck to the same design, just kind of modified it a little bit.
The biggest change with the Silurians is because they dropped that third eye.
Yes,
agreed. That's why it's the biggest departure.
Which I wish
and
maybe
they explained that. They commented that it's yet another offshoot cousin, right?
Yes, exactly.
They aren't actually Silurians.
Well, they are, but they're
Homo reptilia.
Well, but the Silurians and the original Silurians weren't really Silurians; they're Indocines. So,
well, that's true. There are no Silurians.
Yeah, there really are no Silurians. Anyway, all right. Well, let's move on to feedback, or not feedback, to reviews.
First on our reviews is the second Doctor retrospective.
Second
Doctor retrospective Doctor Who revisited that BBC America did. I, for some reason, was going towards a cooler title
around that, but yes, it was the Doctors.
The Doctors revisited.
They did the.
It's another R word. That's why we have problems with it. I'm going to do the Daleks revisited.
Last month they ran the second Doctor retrospective of Patrick Troughton's years,
which we're covering this month because
they ran that ahead of ran that ahead of Tomb of the Cybermen. And what did you guys think?
I thought it was really good. I thought it was better than Hartnell's.
I think it was better as well.
I think it was better too.
I thought they did a better job capturing the spirit of the Second Doctor and why it was important that he changed, and that it, and Moffat went on saying it was amazing that that this happened, that they didn't just get some guy and say, okay, his face is just slightly different, but put him in a wig and put him in the same kind of clothes and said, he's still going to have the same personality and be the same guy, just look slightly different.
And it's
but
funny,
they went in a completely different direction.
Until that for me was the coolest part of the whole special was hearing him say that, because I'll be honest, I never considered that they would have Richard Herndled it. It never even entered into my mind that a producer would have had that idea to do that. And as soon as Moffat said it, it kind of went click. Of course somebody thought of that. That's the obvious choice to do that, is to put somebody in a white wig and say, this is who you're playing now. And the show continues and probably dies a year later. I mean, it's like when we replace Bo and Luke with whoever the other two cousins were.
I don't remember their names.
They were that bad.
Yeah, don't even remember their names.
Completely forgettable.
I think one of the things that makes...
That was a Dukes of Hazzard reference for those of you who didn't catch that.
While they don't touch on Ben and Paulie at all in this retrospective, but they're only there for a couple episodes. I think what makes this...
Was it even a couple episodes?
I went back to look to see when...
Highlanders was the third episode in, right?
Yeah.
So, they would have been in Power of the Daleks and...
whatever's after that. Yeah. But regardless, one of the things that makes, I think, this retrospective a little easier is the less amount of companions. That nobody gets skipped over. They get to spend more time focusing on those companions, therefore focusing on the story, therefore focusing on the Doctor. That's why this is so much better than...
Well, it may also have helped too, because we've said before that the Jamie Zoe Team TARDIS really is one of the stronger companion pairings that is out there, and they do carry through the majority of Troughton's era. So
did you guys have that moment when they were beginning their discussion of Jamie, where it's talking about how the Doctor's companion is always a woman, and the person he connects to is always a woman.
Yes.
And it was that way.
And I thought, wait a minute, Jamie's not
what
a
about
woman,
Jamie?
but he did a nice little segue, and then you had Jamie in a dress.
Yeah, that
Who was in a dress.
really. I really enjoyed that.
I bit into that hook, line, and sinker. I was almost off the couch, ready to point fingers, and then he said, "Well,
I was about to hit stop."
And then that whole lead up was almost like, well, "You're not going to talk to Jamie?" I mean, and then he showed up, so I was like, "Oh, okay, I'll sit back and get off my."
Oh, and the interview with the fact that they got Jamie, the fact that they got Zoe to come back to do these.
Yeah.
I thought that was really, really cool.
Yeah, agreed.
It was a really, really well done.
I hope more are like this rather than the first one. While the first one was good, this just feels like they truly captured the
here we go.
the era.
Ben and Polly would have left with Power of the Daleks because the Highlanders was the second in Patrick Troughton's era. And
So
Jamie was
only
there.
with him not once.
Jamie was there almost the nearly entire run, with the
and
exception
he
of
was
Polly.
alone with him for quite a while too. From what I saw, at least 3 or 4 stories before they picked up Victoria.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Because
so they picked up
Victoria.
her and Evil of the Daleks. So there's at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stories where it would have been just the Doctor and Jamie.
And those are all lost, aren't they?
Yeah.
Oh, I wish I could see some of those because I think that dynamic would have been fantastic.
There are pieces of a few of them that do exist, which are in that box set, and I do have some plans for that to kind of ease you into some of those, which will be easing me into it too, because there's a lot of the lost episodes I haven't seen either. I think I don't think apparently because that thought just flew right out of my head.
Were you going to talk about Matt Smith?
Yes, thank you for
You talked about it with me after the movie.
You
So
knew where I was going with that. I thought it was interesting that Moffat talked so much about how Matt Smith fell in love with Patrick Troughton's portrayal, and that's what he globbed onto, but that Matt Smith wasn't in the documentary.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really interesting, and we thought, well, maybe it's just because he's so busy, or I wonder if it's that weird BBC embargo that you can't go do anything that's not officially, if we don't send you, you can't go do it. Because this is a BBC America production, I wonder if that falls under that
I would have
rule.
thought Stephen would have gotten.
I would have thought so,
Yeah,
but
again, would have gotten.
maybe he just figures that there's a big enough year going on that he wanted him to have a break and said no. I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think it was cool that David Tennant was there talking about it still, but I was really
Matt's
surprised.
got a lot of other things on his plate.
Yeah,
He's
I was
he's
just
doing
really
some other
surprised
things.
that
In
he
fact, he was shooting a movie with. I want to say
Ryan
isn't he in a
Reynolds.
movie? Yeah, with Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds is directing the movie that
Yeah.
Matt Smith is.
So yeah,
Well, maybe that's what he was doing,
been, they've
but-
been working on as well. That's why they're waiting to come back and shoot the 50th stuff because he was finishing up on post production or something.
Wow, was it that far?
I think so.
It was announced that not too long
Post
ago.
shooting or something. I don't remember what it was.
It was a really, really well done, well realized special, and I hope that the fans who caught it on BBC America stuck around to watch.
Oh, I hope so
Tomb of
too.
Cybermen. And
I know
hearing
I sure
things like
did.
Daphne. Yeah, I know you will. But hearing things like Daphne when she talked about it, I get it now. The Daphne Ashbrook, she hadn't seen it, but she lobbed onto it. So it was.
I think one of the reasons why I like this one so much more is sometimes it feels like because so much Troughton is lost, that Troughton is kind of the lost or the unrecognized gem of the Doctors, and so just to have him have his spotlight, I think is fantastic.
I'll agree with that.
Well, I think this is one of the most important specials to do because so much of his era is missing as well. I mean,
Yeah, you gotta fill in those gaps
You go
somehow.
out there and you can buy his DVDs in 3 paychecks. you get everything that he's been in. So,
Unfortunately.
unfortunately, and hopefully they'll rectify that and find some more missing episodes.
It's one of those things that we've kind of joked about, and we've said before, no Who is bad Who. It's all good. But when you make that purchase, kind of like a little buyer's remorse on Reign of Terror, maybe because it wasn't quite what you were hoping for or expecting. I can honestly say that as we've been doing this, I didn't own any Patrick Troughton before we started this podcast.
And so there's only one you're disappointed by owning.
There's only one I don't own yet.
There's
And
only one that you're disappointed with too. The Dominators.
Yeah. Which part of me, because that's a Troughton story, I would almost still pick that up.
Well, that's the deal. That's the deal. That's the one I don't own, but I will still buy it.
Who bought that?
I didn't buy it.
I
Did
didn't
you
buy it
buy
either.
I thought you bought it.
I don't think so.
I don't own it.
You sure?
I'm sure you do.
I just went through my shelf and double checked.
Well, you must have got rid of it then.
No, I would not get rid of it. Once it's in, it's in. Unless there's a special edition coming, in which case maybe. But you know me, I don't get rid of anything, man. Come on.
What?
I'm pretty sure one of you has it.
I don't have it.
It's got to be Glenn. At any rate,
my first classic was in the Silurians, which I got way late into
way late.
I do not own it.
Where did we get a copy of this thing from?
No idea.
Is it on loan to someone?
Have you loaned it?
Maybe I loaned it up some. I don't remember
My only Patrick Troughton that I own is the Crotons. That's it. And then what I have from the Lost Time.
Oh, wait, no. That's the one I don't own. I do own Dominators.
Yes.
Sorry,
I own Crotons. Yes.
Okay.
I could see how those two could get confused.
Well, all of his titles had the in front of them.
But it's true.
They did. The Highlanders, the Moonbase, the Crotons. They're all there.
The Macra Terror.
The Power of the Daleks.
The Evil of the Daleks.
The War Games. Okay, we're done with that.
Now, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it.
Double check and make sure there aren't any none.
The Power of the Daleks, the Highlanders, the Underwater Menace, the Moonbase, the Macra Terror, the Faceless Ones, the Evil of the Daleks, the Tomb of the Cybermen, the Abominable Snowmen, the Ice Warriors, the Enemy of the World, the Web of Fear, Fear from the Deep.
Oh.
The Dominators, the Mind Robber, the Invasion, the Crotons, the Seeds of Death, the Pirates, and the War Games.
There's only
all
one.
But one.
There's only one in his entire range. I know. So
to be fair, there are a lot
of
William Hartnell stories that start with,
that's
and I'm not going to go through those.
Well, there's a lot of just classic Who starts with the.
Yes.
I mean, all those R's of the Daleks.
Yeah.
Isn't it the blank of the Daleks? Right. The King's Demons.
I got to reverse that. Crotons is the one that I don't own.
Okay, that makes sense now.
But I would still totally own it. And Dominators is the only one of Troughton's run that I kind of feel, it's not the greatest story. But I will still gladly have that in my collection and will go back and rewatch it because Troughton is so good.
And the Quarks are awesome.
All three
of them. No, the Quarks are not awesome.
All three of those. The Dr. Zoe and Jamie are all wonderful.
So, I mean, that's the thing that I can really take out of this era is the fact that, I don't regret any of those purchases. There's not a one of them that I kind of look at and go, I probably won't watch that one again anytime soon.
So number 2, the Doctors Revisited, we're all thumbs up on.
Definitely thumbs up.
I think they're doing a good job on these. I think they do a good job of indoctrinating. I think people that have never seen these stories and that don't know anything about those Doctors, I think they are a very good summary so far. And I think they're
absolutely.
And their interviews with the people that are involved and the people that know Doctor Who, like David Tennant. Now we've seen twice.
I think we'll see him throughout all of them.
I imagine we will too.
I think they just sat down and just did.
John Barrowman, we've now seen twice. Barrowman, we've now seen twice.
I'll go one step further. If you're watching these and listening to our podcast and have... Specifically, I'd very much like to hear from somebody who had not seen this, Troughton, that came to it completely fresh and sat down and watched the Doctors Revisited, because maybe they came from New Who, and sat down and watched Doctors Revisited, and then stuck around for Tomb of the Cybermen. Call us with your thoughts on it and let us know what you thought. And because we haven't given it out in a while, you can reach us at 913-890-3025. That is our Google Voice number. Oh, it's not our Google Voice
number. I'm just
anymore.
kidding. But I thought I'd panic you for a moment.
And you can also email us on our website by going to the Contact Us tab at travelingthevortex.com.
And that'll go straight into our feedback page. So
or send it directly to feedback at travelingthevortex.com. We'll
Either one.
Well.
Either way. So let us know what you guys thought.
All right, let's move into our reviews of this week's stories.
The King's Demons. England, March 1215. King John is visiting the castle of Sir Ranulph Fitzwilliam. The arrival of the TARDIS disturbs a medieval joust, but the Doctor and his companions are proclaimed to be friendly demons by the King, who seems strangely interested in their blue engine. It soon becomes clear that neither King John nor his champion, Sir Giles Estram, are who they pretend to be. One of the Doctor's oldest and deadliest enemies threatens the future of democracy on Earth, and he must be stopped.
Is that it?
That's it.
Dun, dun, dun! I liked this one.
Wow, that covers total spoiler.
Yeah.
I never noticed that. Of course, you don't look as closely when you don't know. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's been on our website all week.
I debated whether or not I wanted to put it on the Facebook page because it was kind of
All right, yeah, that's what I meant. Facebook page all week.
I never noticed that until now, and I've looked at the picture. I didn't look what was in their hands. That's the thing.
So, first and foremost.
So, the King's Demons.
Let's talk about the Master.
The Master's good in this. I really liked... I don't quite understand what his plan was. Why is he disrupting democracy? Why? I mean, I wish they would have delved into his reasonings behind it a little bit more. But the disjointedness of this king seeing the TARDIS land and declaring the demons and welcoming them and all of this and all the political maneuverings that are going on, you kind of get used to and are... Once you realize that the Master is behind it all, it kind of clicks and makes more sense.
Yeah.
Because the first episode is very disjarring and very, what is going on? Who are all these people? What is happening? Why are they acting the way they are? And then you realize, oh, this isn't the king, and it's the Master doing all of this. Totally makes the episode make much more sense.
Now, you and I were present for Friday Night. Who Glenn had to catch up later. The reveal of the Master,
which it's totally obvious who the actor is.
Yeah,
they did not do as good of a job as the previous one, Time Flight.
And even I recognized his voice before I even recognized his face. This is another one that I've seen the second half. I'd never actually seen the setup for it. I'd never seen part one. So I kept waiting that he showed up. I was like, oh, dude, that's totally the Master. And we're going to go over here and do this, my old man. It's like, you're the Master. Take off the fake nose.
And maybe if I hadn't seen the DVD cover and didn't know the Master was in it, it might have been a bigger surprise.
Might have been a bigger surprise.
But I think, would have recognized, oh, that's Ainley. Is he playing
This is another one where, in the first story, Giles Estrom is an anagram for Master.
Ah,
yeah.
Nice.
So that one, not so much of a...
They did that frequently because Radio Times would list the actors that were in upcoming shows, and so they would send that to the Radio Times, and it was still his name, or still who he was playing, but we weren't sure that it was going to be
the Master. Although
it was Anthony Ainley was how they anagrammed it, wasn't it?
Well, Ainley would be anagrammed sometimes, but in this particular one, the Ainley is not listed in anagram. It's the Master.
So that reveal, not so much.
But it was still a cool reveal.
When he,
I kind of wish he would have.
Oh, that's right.
Mission
No, you're
Impossible.
Right. He was. I read. I went on down here, and he was credited as being James Stoker.
That's what it was.
Yeah, was playing Giles.
I kind of wish it was going to be a Mission Impossible style. Pull off the mask. Oh no, look, it's really me.
James Stoker is an anagram of Master's joke.
But now, the Iron Maiden.
That was really cool.
That was the coolest.
And I was the same way. The first time that I saw this story, I knew that Anthony Ainley was going to be revealed as the Master because it was the first time that he's been in disguise. It was the Iron Maiden that I thought, wow, they're actually putting him in the Iron Maiden. How's he going to get out of this? Oh, duh. I fall for that. But I was totally surprised by it the first time I saw it.
Keith was like, oh! And I was like, on the couch.
And it's just always cool, regardless of the situation. Even if it's the grandfather clock, to see a TARDIS with a working chameleon chip. So
yes.
That's just so cool. We never get to, we rarely get to see it. Yeah. It's even cool when it was the Doctor's TARDIS, and it was that flowery organ.
Right.
That was still cool.
There's a lot to like in this story, I think. I
feel bad for Turlo in this story.
We definitely do Turlo a disservice because he's kind of shoved off to the dungeon and left. And then he goes off to help the guy on horseback. Gets shot in the back.
Which, yeah.
Turlo's having a rough time of it. He's like, I didn't do it. I didn't do it.
Here's what I don't like about this story is, I'm not a fan of Turlo. I'm not a fan of Mark Strickson.
I like Turlo.
But he's so underused in this. He just seems to be running from here to there. And
he
just
spends most of the time locked up.
Or getting blamed for something he didn't do. And
he did have a great line, though, about the... well, can't you call on hell? I'm sure you can and have more...
Far greater success rate.
Of course, now... we had just finished the Black Guardian trilogy, so Enlightenment was the one before this. So certainly there was a very
and there's some
heavy
nice references
Turlo
to it.
Absolutely. Well, because Tegan makes the comment that
this isn't a plot
by the Black Guardian.
Yeah.
But Tegan had such a heavy involvement in the first three stories that perhaps if you watched these all in a row, it probably is appropriate that he's not played as heavily in this one. But it's just watching it; it's very sorely. It's very obvious that we have nothing to do with Turlo. We're just going to put him here, here, and here, just because he happens to be along. And I didn't like that. I thought they could have found better ways to use Turlo in this story, especially since we're establishing the fact that Turlo's sort of working on his redemption now from what he had just done.
Yeah,
so.
we find that a lot. In a lot of Doctor Who, but specifically with the Fifth Doctor, that we get those episodes, and we've all kind of talked about it, that, so and so didn't have much to do in this one, or whatnot.
Well, just like Tegan in Time Flight, or no, it was Nyssa in Time Flight.
Nyssa. No. Yes. No.
Yeah, it was Nyssa that was locked. That was captured. Wasn't
No,
it?
you're right. It was Nyssa, wasn't it?
Wait, which one's Time Flight? Now I'm confused. No, I must be confused.
It's the previous one with the Master, where they're in primeval time.
The Concord.
Oh, yeah. Okay, gotcha. Which they don't explain in this one. How
he escapes.
He escaped.
It's just I see you escaped from.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah.
And Kamelion was instrumental in getting me out.
Yeah, that was an easy fix. But anyway, Time Flight. Okay, I was confusing it with something else.
Realistically, with classic Who, the Master's showing back up. I don't need how did you get out of that? He just did.
Unfortunately, it's just in a two-parter too. Yeah. That's what's so weird. Is this story? I rarely say this, but this story probably could have used another part.
I disagree.
It felt rushed along. It felt like
the only thing I felt was rushed was the end.
I don't know. I could see both ways, because I like the fact that this one was the length that it was, because I don't know that there was really enough story.
Because what would have happened is we would have gotten mired more in the medieval politics, and the reveal of the Master would have been pushed back.
Well, possibly, but there definitely would have been a lot more medieval politics going on. The ending, I think, I agree with you, was rushed, and maybe it could have benefited. You know how I am. I'm always thinking, that one needed another part. This is kind of one of those that I'm on the fence with, because, you probably could have put an extra part together and done some cool stuff with it, but realistically it was going to be mostly medieval politics, which I didn't think we needed, and then you would have fixed the ending to kind of give it a little more room to breathe. Other than that, I don't know that you needed a full part.
In fact, they could have dropped some of the political maneuvering earlier on just to fix the quick ending.
Yeah. But that's, honestly, I feel like that's very, very nitpicky, because I feel like overall it's a good episode. I feel it's definitely one that I think people or fans kind of, Kamelion's in that one. But, I think it works as an episode. It doesn't necessarily have to, as far as the Master's involvement, how did he get off the planet? Why is he trying to disrupt Magna Carta? He's just a bad guy. He doesn't necessarily need The
Master usually has some sort of plan, though.
It was going to spread chaos. That was really all he needed. I'm not saying that's right. I'm not saying that does his character any service. But for purposes of the story, it's just, it is what it is. Maybe a third part would have given Turlo something to do.
Maybe.
And, that I'd be, singing its praises a little louder. But I still think it's a good episode. And I like the fact that it presented us with what we got, and it was a fun story. Now, that part of it I really enjoyed, because I tend to see the Fifth Doctor stories as... They almost don't feel like fun romps so much as... I don't know why. The Fifth Doctor's era tends to get a little preachy, maybe, or I don't know what the word is that I'm looking for. But I enjoyed the fact that this one...
I think they take themselves too seriously sometimes.
Maybe that's it. Yeah. And this one was just
And by that, I don't mean that they need to inject an element of comedy in them, but I think that sometimes we get so mired in the story that we don't have fun. We don't have the action adventure. That's having the sword fight right in the middle of this thing.
That was great.
Was fantastic, and it reminded
One
me
of the highlights of the
It
episode.
reminds me of Pertwee and Delgado duking it out with swords in the Sea Devils. It was such a wow. Hey, it's the Doctor and the Master fighting with swords again.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just
we were trying to think. We talked about doing this with Friday Night Who. How many times has this happened now? Because we got obviously the Sea Devils is a big sword fight between the Doctor and the Master. Tom Baker picks up a sword in Androids of Terra, and we get a big sword fight. And then we've got this one, and then David Tennant in Christmas Invasion. So we were trying to figure out if there's like a compilation video somewhere of
maybe so.
I need just Google Doctor Who sword fights,
but not just the Master fighting, but
and see what else comes up. But,
yeah,
because that was as soon as he, all right, the coat's coming off. It's like, here we go.
Isn't it's not a sword, but isn't Matt Smith using something to fight with in the Vampires of Venice? Isn't there a scene where he's got like a poker,
maybe his
or something?
flashlight or something?
Remember.
Yeah, his big.
Well, I know he pulled that thing out. Mine's bigger, but
neon tube
it seemed
thing.
like there was he was using a poker or something and dueling with somebody.
Hey, Keith.
It's Rory fighting the son with a broom in the guy.
Oh, that's
sword.
what it
that's
was.
what it
Yeah,
was.
okay, you're right. It was Rory.
And then Amy picks up the sword and the black spot.
Pirate one.
Yeah.
We were trying to think of
Crystal
other Doctor Who
Black
sword
Spot.
fights.
I can't think of any other ones, but
There's
those
nothing
ones
with
you
Matt
mentioned.
Smith with a sword, huh?
I don't think so.
He'd drop it.
He'd cut himself.
He'd cut himself and then drop it.
Should we talk a little bit about Kamelion?
I didn't see that coming. That reveal. I knew Kamelion was in the story, and then we kind of started it, and I forgot. So we get to that reveal, and it's like, that's pretty clever, actually.
Yeah.
And then the fact that he's kind of doing his own thing anyways. That, yeah, he's working for the Master, but he has his own mind. He's not under the Master's control. He's just kind of bored.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll do you a favor kind of thing. I thought was very interesting. It's just that resolution of, okay, we dealt with all of this political stuff earlier on just to drop it and run out.
Right.
And take Kamelion with us.
We didn't get to see the signing of the Magna Carta. We didn't get to,
Yeah.
didn't get any of that.
And
Of course, that was happening back in London.
Well, yeah, but
because
still,
the real king
the
was
real
still
king
in
was
London.
there.
And so they take him away, and then the fact that I don't mind the look of Kamelion. I don't think he has the charm of K9. That's the difference, is he doesn't have the charm.
Well,
I'm surprised that they didn't continue.
We shouldn't compare K9 and Kamelion. They're totally, again,
Well,
apples and oranges.
Well, we watched the documentary afterwards, and it's Jonathan Nathan Turner trying to get another K9.
That's exactly what they said, is that they
that's
wanted
too
another
bad.
robot after K9.
They,
that's
they
too
wanted
bad,
another
then.
K9-like robot. And I'm surprised that they just didn't hire the actor, and he could be in normal clothes, and he would change and go on with the adventures.
That's my point with Kamelion. I like the idea of Kamelion. I like the fact that there's this robot that can basically change its appearance into anything. And you didn't even have to hire the same actor.
No, you
could
could
have
have
brought
anybody.
any actor in for any number of episodes and said,
He could have been
"You're
different each
Kamelion this
episode."
term," and then so the robot turns into that one particular, and you wouldn't have to have the robot that clearly didn't work very well. And in fact, I think the software designer died. That's part of the reason why they didn't continue on, because they were using basically the prototype that he had built.
Yeah.
And so I think that you could have simply just used the robot, because the robot looks really cool. I think it looks cool. And for
I like the
the
design.
1980s, it moves and looks. I mean, he kind of did this weird head thing for a long period of time. But just the animatronics. I mean, they were saying that they were so impressed with the animatronics of the Kamelion robot that they actually were rivaling some of the stuff that like Disney Imagineers were doing in the States. And so I mean, that's what wowed Jonathan Nathan Turner about this. The problem is it didn't go any further because this guy had died. But I think you could have simply just used what you had in very small doses and had an actor play Kamelion in disguise each time. And that's simply what they did in this one.
And occasionally go back to
that?
him in the robot as the robot in the TARDIS.
Yeah, exactly. I
Occasionally.
mean, just
Not
why
all the
not?
time,
Why
but
not? And they sort of did. But.
It's one of those things that you look at, and I can see the wheels turning, and I can understand the gee whiz bang factor of we've got a robot, And especially the documentary, they talk about the fact that, according to the brochure, the thing walks, it talks, it does this, it just blah, 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 blah. And they went to go see the designer.
It was supposed to.
It was supposed to walk.
It was supposed to.
But
so they went to go see
died.
it, and they talked about the fact that the thing was sitting in the chair playing the lute, and it was, doing this stuff, and they were just flabbergasted because it was the coolest thing they'd ever seen. And then as soon as they got it on set, it stopped working. And everything that could go wrong with it, they had to change the radio mic frequencies for the headsets. They had to change it because everything affected the robot. And then it was supposed to be that they played the tape, and it would do this pre-recorded, like an actual cassette tape that fed instructions.
It was all pre-programmed.
And pre-programmed. But
Data
then
tapes.
None of that worked. So then it was a matter of there was one data tape that they would leave blanks in, and everybody had to try and shoehorn their lines in before Kamelion started talking over them again. And Peter Davison, he was so funny in this documentary because he's actually pantomiming this very bad robot imitation. And in his mind, he's like, if he can look like a person when he's imitating somebody, how come he can't look like a robot when he's not? Because it doesn't move the same.
It's not fluid.
He says they went and hired the guy that played the king, and
who later did the voice for Kamelion
he's
too.
this very big, flamboyant, over-the-top presence. And then Camelion's like, doing this, and you can hear the servos as its head turns, and he's doing all this, and he's like, I did make the comment to John. It was like, we could just leave it. Why do we have to take it with us in the TARDIS? Let's just leave it here because we knew by the end of that serial it wasn't working. But yeah, I mean, looking at it as a story standpoint, recasting him as different actors totally makes sense. And even if you had one actor who was Kamelion when he wasn't, shape-shifting, changing into something else,
sure,
and then came back to that reset point,
right.
even that would have been fine. But yeah, it's just one of those. They looked at it and went, hey, this is way better than K9 because he's not on wheels and we don't have to do with that. And then every single shot, even the one shot of him in the TARDIS where he is standing up, it looks like he's a department store mannequin that's kind of leaning up against the wall.
Sort of leaning and then bent.
Yeah. And then his head's kind of cocked to one side like he couldn't quite get up. I don't know. I'm sure on paper it was fantastic.
I like the idea of the robot. It just didn't pan out. So.
I'm sure on paper it was fantastic, but not so much.
Anything else about King's Demons?
I agree. I think it's an undiscovered gem. I hope more people go back and find this one and find it as enjoyable as I did because I really had a good time with it.
Was it part of a set, or is it just that's by itself? Because I think in the UK,
in the UK and Canada,
Tales, which they're not in a row because obviously the next one after this is 5 Doctors, right? Yeah, so.
And then,
so if you bought them in the box set, I'd have to split them up anyway.
I didn't. I didn't realize until we watched that documentary because they talked about the Awakening, and there's actually like 5 stories because there's this one, and then 5 Doctors, and then something, and then the Awakening, and then something.
Yeah.
Warriors of the Deep is in there, and so the Dalek one is in there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's this. He's not in any of these.
He's walking around there somewhere.
Not even mentioned.
Yeah. Well,
what did we watch that had
was an Awakening?
Awakening.
He's not in Awakening.
No, he was in deleted scenes.
He was in a deleted scene.
Was it the deleted scene?
Yeah, we watched the deleted scene.
I thought he was in there.
No. He was supposed to be.
He was supposed to have been, but he didn't work.
Well, it wasn't that he didn't work. I think they just
cut it.
They just cut it. They didn't because he's standing there cleaning something or doing something.
Tinkering with something inside the wall.
Something.
Rocks by. That wasn't in there.
No, that was
afterwards.
That was
afterwards. Okay.
So.
It's all, I don't know. Because I thought, well, at least they referenced the fact that he is still roaming around the ship somewhere, but apparently not.
And after watching the documentary, I'm glad at least they gave him a swan song so we don't think he's still in the TARDIS.
Still roaming around the TARDIS somewhere. Yeah.
Like some of the Cybermen we've seen.
I am so lost.
Let's move on to Primeval.
When Nissa's psychic abilities threaten her life, the Doctor takes her to ancient Traken. Will Nissa be healed, or does the Doctor's arrival threaten Traken and its source?
Dun, dun, dun!
Well, this was a good story. Well, that's going to do it for this week. Until next week.
That's all we can talk about this one.
It's not true. We can talk about all kinds of stuff. We just can't talk about
Traken.
Or possibly, and that one thing, and then we're good. As long as we stay off those topics, we're fine.
Well, we know the Doctor is the first keeper.
Which doesn't mean much to me.
Here's
the exploration.
You know that they landed before Traken was destroyed?
Yes. And before her dad was killed.
That doesn't mean anything.
It's in the thing, though. It totally spoils some. Yeah.
There are plenty of planets they could land on that are going to get destroyed at some point. I mean, that's not a big deal.
Yeah, but they discuss how Nissa's from Traken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And?
and that she left with the Doctor because Traken got destroyed.
You goofed. No,
Yeah, I
no,
goofed.
no.
That's the impression I got.
That's the impression you got, maybe, but that's not even true.
Well, good. Let him
That
believe
wasn't
that.
the impression that I got.
That's the
either.
impression I got.
No,
Let him believe that.
He did not. She did not leave Traken with
no.
the Doctor because
It was because her
the planet
father
was destroyed.
She left because her father died, and then later the planet was destroyed. From what, if I'm remembering correctly,
Let him believe that. That's
right.
Here's the deal.
She left because of tragic circumstances.
Yes.
There was a little black rain cloud. This is a Chrissy, I love you. This is the first Big Finish story that we've reviewed with Nyssa that I have finally gotten the Nyssa that I wanted.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that she's still incapacitated and, weak and in a coma for part of it. But she's finally doing cool things. So many of these other ones, like Land of the Dead, and let's go back to primeval Earth, or let's go back to prehistory. It's like Nyssa has a scientific mind. She is a great genius. Mm-hmm. Why can't we put her in a situation where she can actually use that? But no, we keep going back to times and places and backward primitive societies that don't allow that development to happen. And it was so frustrating to sit through those. And this was really the first one where I felt like, and maybe it is the fact that it's Traken as her home planet that she kind of comes into her own. But it was so refreshing to have that. This is one of the first Fifth Doctor stories that I really felt I didn't get bogged down with kind of the nonsense of the story and really could enjoy what Peter Davison was doing with his performance and all around this was
the story's quite linear too. I mean, it goes from point A to point B, and it makes a lot of sense. And it doesn't try to do head games with you. Now, granted, we've done a lot of
the other Fifth Doctor ones haven't tried to do head games with me.
Well,
either.
the other Fifth Doctor ones though have tried to be clever. And this one doesn't try to be clever, except for the fact that it really kind of reveals to those of us who have seen Keeper Traken and Logopolis some of the history of Traken, kind of gives us some backstory on her race and Nyssa. But it's a real straightforward story, and it's a good story, and it's got good characters in it.
Yeah.
It's got characters that you enjoy. The only problem that I have is that we keep talking about what's the god
Quandar.
Quandar. Okay, Quandar. Quandar's omniscient, not necessarily omnipotent, but he's omniscient. Quandar's omniscient.
He's
Quandar's
psychic.
omniscient. Wouldn't he have seen this coming? Wouldn't he have seen his downfall coming? Wouldn't he have seen what the Doctor was going to do? Wouldn't he have seen the destruction of Tarkin later? Wouldn't he? I mean,
because apparently he can see through time and space.
Yeah, that's the problem.
That's
because
the problem.
It's not
If he
just
were
the
just
fact
a
that
powerful
it's not
psychic,
just
it'd be
the
one
fact.
thing.
Yeah, it's not just the fact that we keep saying he's omniscient and he's not omniscient. He's omniscient. It's that we actually qualify it by saying he can see through time and space.
If they had never done that,
I've got problems. Right, exactly. If they hadn't done that, I would have said, okay, they think he's omniscient. They keep saying he's omniscient, but he's not really.
Psychic. That's
he's
all
just
he is.
very, very, very.
He can
observant.
he can hear
Yeah,
people's thoughts. That's
exactly.
it.
I would have had a problem, except for the Doctor qualifies it by saying he can see through time and space, and so I was like, oh no, you went there. That's
Although, was that after he entered the Doctor's mind that the Doctor said that?
I believe so. Yeah.
So maybe he can only see through time and space because he entered the Doctor's mind. Maybe he couldn't before then, and so all the orchestrating
because the Doctor has been through time and space. Suddenly he's okay,
and and the Doctor can, for the most part, see through. Knows what's happening.
The Doctor can't see through time and space, but the Doctor has experienced it. So Quandar could have gained all of the knowledge that the Doctor had already had about different eras and different times and different. So, okay, I can maybe buy that.
The wording isn't proper.
No,
isn't correct.
Not, but that was really the only thing I had a problem with it. I like the fact that we go back to the Charleston, her teaching.
That was a nice.
What was his name?
Sabian.
Sabian teaching Sabian the Charleston.
And the sonic screwdriver reference.
The Charleston reference was that obviously she'd picked that up in Black Orchid when they had gone back then, and then Yeah, the screwdriver. Him deciding that he could have used a screwdriver to get the gate open so they could fly out of there.
Yeah.
And I've got something that would make short. Wait. Yeah. And somebody remembers that. Hey, I don't have the sonic screwdriver.
That was a
as well.
neat little scene.
So that was cool. I don't know. Overall, it's an enjoyable story.
It is, and it's one of those stories where I listen to it and I get so frustrated at the people in it. Because it's primeval and because it's so the council or whatever they were called, I wanted to strangle every single one of them.
Yeah.
But it was really well done and written that they were that believable that I just wanted to hit them upside the head and say, "You're an idiot."
Well, and I like the idea that we sort of we've got a spaceport. We've got some semblance of science and medical technology.
I think that's the thing.
But then it's almost jarring when they say she's been infected by evil.
Yeah, it's like what?
It's like, wait a minute. She's been infected by evil, and you're afraid the evil is going to spread. Now it's the whole idea that the
source is omnipotent and will tell us what to do.
The source will tell us what to do and doesn't, which I thought was kind of clever as well.
Which makes me wonder how many times before. Did it ever actually tell them what to do? Or have this council just been making decisions on their own the entire time?
Yeah, quite possibly. But
And I found that this political aspect of it interesting despite me wanting to strangle them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the idea of the source and how it began, I thought very fascinating. Now, of course, it doesn't have to wait for me that it would for most other people.
Yeah.
And I think it will make me enjoy Keeper much more, having heard this first.
I think you will appreciate it, yeah. I think one of the things that I really enjoyed about this fact is, well, that Quandar is very well realized. And that the actor that's playing him was very, very good.
I agree. The only thing I didn't like about him was the whole, you can't look at my face.
Yeah, they didn't quite explain why or what was happening to people.
And then people look at his face, and then it's like not a big deal.
Well, they had some sort of mental anguish or something.
Yeah, but I didn't know if...
He's fugly.
They didn't go into if that was him entering their mind and destroying them just for looking at his face because he has a zit.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of biblical parallels here.
Well,
which
I
is,
presume
in the Bible, if you look into the face of God, you'll die. I mean, that's a biblical principle.
They gave that
or
at the end about when they were revealing that he was originally there and set up.
He was the architect.
He was the architect, and he set it all up.
Yeah.
And then the source deemed him to be evil and threw him out. That it wasn't just the expulsion of paradise. That it
they did talk about how
him.
Yeah,
so
the source would burn him
face
and any
from.
other people because it burned that one person in the water.
That's right. I forgot.
So it is that they just. I just wish they would have made that clear
We still
sooner.
don't know what he looked like. We just know that he's fugly. Yeah.
This story's
like
clever.
Anakin.
This story's cleverly written in the fact that Quandar is looking for something specific from the Doctor, and you don't know what it is.
Yes.
And the Doctor thinks that, okay, well, I'm the key to get him into the chamber where the source is, so I'm going to lock him out while I'm in here, and then he won't be able to get into it. And only to find out that all he did was lower the defenses of Traken because of the fact that he shut the source out from being the protector.
Because
that was very, very clever.
Because he upped the shield.
Exactly,
of the source.
He raised the shield so that nothing could get in. Well, the source light couldn't get out.
It was one of those moments that had this been a Paul McGann story, we would have got a stupid Doctor comment from himself.
Yeah.
And so we got to that moment, and I almost expected him to say it. I was like, oh, wait, no, this is Peter Davison. Okay, go.
Well, I thought that it took Nisa to point out to him.
Yeah.
It took Nisa to point out to him that he had done it. Oh, well, it's your fault.
Yeah.
It was like, whoa, wait a minute.
It's very much... I'm curious to know, and forgive me for being that guy, I want to know what the bathing suit looked like.
Both of them. Because he made some snarky comments about what he wore and changed out of it very quickly.
And he says this was the height of fashion when last I was there.
When was he last there in a bathing suit?
In my head, He's totally wearing one of the white and red stripes, all the way down, head to foot bathing suits.
I gotta look something up here real quick. You keep talking about
it. But Nissa kept making the comment. Then when they're walking back, he says, "Well, it's plenty warm in here. Don't worry about it." Blah blah blah. And he's, "Oh well, here you can have my coat." And then
she almost made it sound like she's barely wearing anything.
Yeah, and she was very very self-conscious about, "I'm barely clothed," and I was like, "Okay, so I'm really curious now what the doctor and only
especially since she leaves in a slip when she leaves the doctor."
Yeah. I mean,
at the very end of her run, she's in a slip.
Only the fifth Doctor is, quite honestly, he's the only person that could have that I would put this contrast in, that he's fully clothed in a bathing suit and she's wearing almost nothing in a bathing suit. But in his mind, this is still okay and it's still proper because he's such a proper gentleman. All the rest of the Doctors, I'd have thought, you're having a little bit of fun here, aren't you? Like Pertwee? Come on.
Well, look at Perry later.
Yeah, but that was the bolster ratings. That was
that's a completely off-screen reason. But if you look at it on screen,
that was another idea of John Nathan Turner's. That one actually turned out to be pretty good. I don't know. It just struck me as such a
the fact that she's so repulsed by it is
If
she didn't have that reaction, it would have been like, okay, she's wearing a swimming suit.
It wasn't a big deal, and they didn't really make it such a big deal, other than she kept coming back to it, and he's like, "Don't worry about it. You look fine." I'm just really curious now to know what went on there.
Does the Doctor wear a swimsuit in the Space Museum? I can't remember. It's been so many. Yeah, it's been so many years ago that I'd seen that. Well, the reason I ask this is because there's a reference in the discontinuity guide that says fashion victims, the Doctor's swimming costume, and then in colons it says the Space Museum has so much to answer for. So it made me wonder if that was something that was maybe a missed reference for me, because I couldn't remember the Doctor in a swimming suit in the Space Museum.
Well, I'm definitely going to say if it's Hartnell, he's probably wearing a...
Well, that's what made me think, is that, if it definitely was that type of suit, that's probably,
the last time I wore it. Yeah, well, maybe it is. It's been so long since I've seen Space Museum, I don't remember.
It's been at least 10 years since I've seen it.
It'd be odd to wear a swimming suit in this museum.
Well,
unless they think they're landing elsewhere.
All will be revealed.
Yeah, I was going to say, we can't say much about that.
All right, spoilers.
I don't know.
Which is, you have to watch Space Museum and the Chase kind of together, too.
Yeah,
so.
That's what I've understood. Yeah. That's what you guys have told me.
Yeah. Anyway, so I just...
Well, overall, despite really not knowing the future, or the history, however you want to look at it.
The future history. Oh, that was speaking of history.
The history for
Nissa. It was kind of an interesting thing when you kind of touched on this before, or somebody did in one of the feedback, that, we don't really study our history.
Yeah,
and that's my first thought is that old adage: those that fail to learn history are doomed to repeat it.
And the fact that they even just the idea that the society eventually grows to the fact that there's no disease or illness, that they have to go to primeval times to find a doctor. I thought that was really interesting, and I really look forward to seeing that future society.
Well,
that's the whole reason they went back, was that was the best doctor he could find in Trocken times, because they eliminated.
Is that what they said? Because I didn't remember that.
Yeah.
I got the impression it went back to that time because it had to be before Nissa was around.
Yeah, but this is still several hundred years before she was even born.
It seemed to me that it had to be disconnected from.
I thought it was further than that, like thousands.
Yeah, it could be thousands.
Oh, they remember they had different timelines on that too. Some of them, somebody had said that it was like thousands of years, and somebody else had remembered it that it was only like a couple of hundred years or something, even in their own timeline.
There was that about remembering Quandar leaving.
Quandar, that's what it was.
Yeah.
So
no, I definitely got the impression that we are in the far prehistory for Nissa. He's not even like
it'd be like landing in Victorian London or further back.
There's absolutely no chance of her bumping into.
That's not like Roman times or something.
Maybe that's a better example.
Yeah, there's no chance of her bumping into a relative.
I didn't get that impression. I got the impression it was probably only a few hundred years back. So.
Well, maybe not.
Maybe not. I don't know.
But I remember them saying this is when I could find a doctor, and that
because he looked her up.
They become so reliant on the Source, and the Source removes so much sickness and everything that everybody's just healthy all the time.
I do remember that.
So that's why they had to go back
That's
before.
right.
And of course, their sicknesses were evil and blah blah blah. It wasn't really.
That was the thing that
I fully believe that the Source eliminated all the sickness and everything already. It's just the quote unquote evil that doesn't subscribe to whatever the Council thinks is what they're treating.
That was the thing that I was very much struck with, because the Doctor looked this woman up. He went to the database and and got her name out of the, she's the greatest trucking healer. Oh, she happens to be alive during this time frame. So, okay, here we go.
And his reference of, I can pilot the TARDIS.
Yeah.
That was nice.
I'm getting better at this. But it's funny that this woman who is this great renowned healer, and she's kind of at the top of the list for Traken medical, all of her cures pretty much amount to leeches. That's
a great illustration of, despite this advanced society, they're still primeval.
Yeah.
Well, clearly she's taught Sebian to teach people to take people down to the healing of the spa. The spa.
Yeah.
So
why didn't they do that?
That's probably
in the first
why.
place?
That's probably why she healed a lot of people. After she did what she thought healed them with the leeches and stuff, then she sent them down to the spa, and that's what was really healing them. But she didn't know that, so suddenly she gets the reputation of being the greatest healer in Traken history. But it's because she's sending them down to the Source, which is really the greatest healer in Traken history.
So what was Nyssa wearing at the spa?
I almost got the impression she was skinny dipping.
I kind of get that impression
Maybe
too.
so.
But then the bathing suit comes up.
Well, she was just with
the Doctor provides the bathing suit for her, though, because he has to swim with her. So.
Maybe that's it.
She was just with what's his face in the pool.
See, it's okay to be what's his name in the pool, but not okay to be with the Doctor.
She was teaching in Charleston.
No. She probably had no issue with it, but with the Doctor, I think, was the one that was holding a bit of modesty.
And in the spa,
because
there's
she was
privacy.
Out about who am I going to meet on the road?
That's the thing. In the spa, there's privacy. On the road, there's not.
Yeah,
and she was miffed when he had changed back.
Yeah.
Didn't you wonder why I brought the waterproof bag?
I don't know. Maybe that just goes one step further into that almost kind of strange father-daughter relationship that the Doctor and Nyssa have. I don't know, but it was just a hoot. I liked this story a lot. Like I did except for the title. I understand we're on Primeval Traken, but I really think Primeval is kind of a generic.
Had the
As
title
a rule,
been,
I don't like one-word
had
titles.
the title been better, I might have remembered what the story is.
Well, that's the thing. It's almost like the Fifth Doctor stories don't have good representative titles. Winter for the Adept was still kind of...
That's honestly the best one, I think, that we've had so far.
What was the other one that I'm thinking of?
Land of the Dead.
Yeah, that one didn't make much sense. I mean, there's a slight reference to it.
I thought both of those made sense.
I don't know. It's just still so much more abstract.
Land of the Dead, because we're in...
Yeah,
Land of the Dead.
The Land of the Dead. But
it was bones that came back to life.
Yeah.
I just think that they just have done the best job in general naming.
Oh, it's about werewolves.
Yeah.
Well, that only works if you know French.
Oh my God, I know French.
All right. Well, what's coming up next on the schedule, Sean?
Next week for Friday Night Who, we are doing The Ark in Space with Tom Baker, and then we'll be.
Seems weird to be doing that.
Why?
Because it's right in the middle, but we've done Genesis too, so this is right in the middle of that arc.
We've done everything in that arc besides Ark in Space.
Yeah. Well, we did Robot.
We haven't done honestly.
We haven't done Revenge.
No, well, that's true.
Right.
I've seen
You've
Revenge.
seen
Technically, Robot could still be considered a standalone.
Well, we did Suntarn Experiment too, because we did that for our Suntarn.
We've not done the beginning and the end of the arc. We've not done Ark in Space and Revenge of the Cybermen.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Which bookend the rest of the stories in that?
We've done the in-between, just not
well, Robot kind of starts the...
It's the start of the season.
It's a prequel.
Okay, we did the prequel. We haven't done the beginning or the end. We did episode 0, but we did...
Yeah.
So anyway, we're doing Ark in Space, and then we're also going to be doing the Big Finish 4th Doctor Adventure #1, Destination Nerva. So that's on the docket for our show next week. And it's only an hour, so it shouldn't take you long to knock out. And then the following week, we do Mind Robber for Friday Night Who, and then our big Patrick Troughton extravaganza, all things Second Doctor. So.
We'll talk comic book, we'll talk audio, and that's it, right?
Shadows of
and
Death.
Then we'll talk about...
And we'll just talk about the Second Doctor.
Shadows of Death.
Isn't that what it's called?
Destiny of the
That's
Doctor
the-
2 Shadows of Death.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shadows of Death.
Yeah.
That's
okay.
the audio.
So
You were saying the name of the audio. I would say that doesn't sound right, but I was thinking comic book, but I don't remember what the comic book's called.
Prisoners of Time.
It's just issue
Yes.
2.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Prisoners of Time issue 2.
And of course, we'll discuss Mind Robber.
Yeah,
So,
we're not doing a retrospective though, right?
Yeah.
Oh, we are.
That's-
So
that's
we'll do,
all-
okay.
all
we'll
Patrick
do it all
Troughton that
Patrick
week,
Troughton.
yeah.
Okay, terrific. Okay, good.
so
good.
in-depth Patrick Troughton next week.
All right.
Or not next week, the week after.
2 weeks from now.
2 weeks from now. And then 3 weeks from now, New Who's On!
Yay! We're still firming up plans on that.
And then
so,
3 weeks from now, Deputy Ashbrook, yeah!
That's it. That's
Yep.
all I got.
All right. Well, if that's going to do it for this week, until next week, I'm Glenn.
Glenn, can you dance us out with the Charleston?
Yes, I can.
I'm Sean.
I'm Keith.
I'm Glenn.
You already said that.
Oh, cheers.
Good night, everybody.
Be seeing you. Why that was a dance craze, I don't get it. I guess it's like Gangnam. I don't get it.
Why did
breakdancing.
Why did we wear bathing suits?
I understand breakdancing.
It's like breakdancing.
There's skill to breakdancing. There's not skill to that. There's not skill to Gangnam.
I don't know. If he'd have done that outside the quick shop, he might have made more money.
I could have got 2 pieces of bubble gum.
You have been listening to Traveling the Vortex. Doctor Who and all of its associated programs are owned and trademarked by the BBC. No infringement is intended or implied.